like, oh, we don't know what he's doing. You know what the hell he has his boy Tom
Now,
Holland
you
and them
you
whispering
raise
in
an
his ear.
interesting point because one of my older viewers, one of my MAGA viewers, I talked to him on a different social media platform, another right wing platform. You know, I'm only on right wing platforms when I'm not here. And he tore me a new one stating that I used to like your program. He said, but you've changed and you're hard on Trump and things like that. And I kind of said exactly what you just said. I said, Trump 2.0 is totally different than the first version of Trump. Whereas, if I'm somewhat left of center, I'm not way over wild progressive, but I am left of center. I said Trump was not way over far right, but he was right of center. I said Trump 2.0 is much further to the right. I said, so you would expect people to view him differently during his second term than his first term. I think he kind of understood it, but it is exactly what you're saying, where you're saying he's done a 180. I don't know about a 180, but he's. I think the administration is certainly much more further to the right. What do you think caused that, though?
Again, like I
The
said,
Heritage
he's a
Foundation.
little prostitute. He's a little prostitute. He's jumped in bed with so many people, and when it's time to repay, get on his knees to repay it back, they want it now, and he's
Wow.
the president now. So luckily, the most of the country registered voters didn't go out and vote. That's why he won, and now he's the president. So it's too late now. Now he has to. That's why people say like, "Oh, he's working so hard." Hell, yeah, prostitutes work hard. Ladies of the night, they don't get any sleep. Them heels, his ankles swollen. My man's just they working him to death.
You know
They
you're
working, and
disrespecting the
nobody got
president,
his
right?
ankles up in the air.
You know you are disrespecting the commander in chief,
I
right?
look. I disrespect. I would. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you loud and clear. I don't know what's going on with you. YouTube is flicking out in and out on me, so I don't know. But I do know YouTube went down. I reset it, and we're trying to see what's going on. So let me ask you, in addition to what we're talking about in regards to mail-in votes, and I agree with you. Trump has not proven his case that their mail-in voting leads to a lot of fraud. He's made a lot of accusations, but in terms of actually presenting solid proof, I don't believe I've seen that. And if somebody has seen that in the comments, let me know. But what I do want to ask is, why do you believe it is that Trump is critical of the Smithsonian discussing slavery, critical of the Juneteenth holiday, but favorable of renaming bases after Confederate generals and soldiers?
The Heritage Foundation. It all goes back to them. Look. When you see Trump in front of TV this term, it's not him anymore, you guys. This is the Heritage Foundation. They stand next to him and they hand him executive orders. He signed them. He doesn't even know what they are. When they pull him next, giving him EOs, you notice he like, and what's this? And then they have to explain it to him. Most presidents know what they're about to sign. They know what's coming to their desk that day. They have briefed over it. Trump is just doing whatever the Heritage Foundation tells him to do again, so he can get out of every hole he's dug himself into, from court cases to the Epstein files to
I don't know
cases.
I don't know if I agree with you. So you're suggesting Trump is doing nothing on his own, and the Heritage Foundation is guiding him every step of the way.
No, we see when Trump does shit on his own. He fucks up all the damn time when he goes to other countries and makes himself look like a fucking imbecile, makes the country look like we praise dictators like Putin while we rolling out the red carpet for him, but we're bashing Zelensky about a damn suit. Like we know when it's him. His tweets, oh, that's all his ass, or whatever they call his
Yeah.
truths, whatever. That's all his silly ass. So we ain't not gonna take away the silly shit he says and does. But on a grand scale in America, all this we're seeing, get rid of equal opportunity committees. The black unemployment rate is damn near the same it was around the pandemic. DEI.
Well, the man claims.
Civil
Wait,
rights
wait,
coming up.
yeah, but the man claims Trump once said he's done more for the African American community than any president since Abraham Lincoln.
You you are you almost made me fart with that laugh.
I'm just telling
Got
you
my
what he
stomach all
said.
cramped with that. If Trump, if you think Trump did anything for the black community, then again, you should probably take half of his load, because he's running around dropping trial to these dudes, and y'all not helping him. He's getting packed his ankles swollen, like I said, and y'all won't even hold his ankles up. Like, at least give a missionary, hold his ankles up.
Oh my God.
Easy, y'all are not. No, I'm just saying, like, seriously though.
But
Trump
do you? Okay, let me
for the
ask you
black
this.
community is something that every president done. I don't know why he gets a kudos, a pat on the back for doing what every president have done for HBCUs.
Do you not give him credit for potentially ending wars? He's claiming to have ended 7 or 8 wars.
You can't say you ended a war and then later on that night people are complaining about strikes. Every single country from I don't give a shit, Kazakhstan, Azerbaijan, whatever them damn countries over there he keep on lying about. We know he didn't do anything about Congo. We know that every conflict is still going on today. So Trump, again, this I don't understand how people are actually believing the steam that's coming out his ears. But if you want to jump on that train, like go the fuck ahead, because I don't have time to be trying to educate silly ass people that's gonna vote for the next person that's going to inherit the Heritage Foundation. That's all Republicans have now. They don't have any policies. They only got the Heritage Foundation to fall back on.
Well, some people think the man is doing a good job. I mean, there are people who even think the economy is good right now.
Again, just smoke up. Look, MAGA, they like diarrhea. The shit just don't stop. You hear me? It just don't stop. Because, Tim, nothing has changed about our economy in the last 7 months. Okay, now if it did, I would be man enough to say like, hell yeah, gas is cheaper, or the property values have went down, so now I can charge my tenants less, or the price of steel has went down, so now my tow trucks, I can get my tow truck drive more. Everything is either increased and or is the same. So again, this little magic trick they try in front of us, they're horrible ass fucking magicians.
But do the Democrats wait a minute? But do the Democrats think that they're flawless? Stevie D in the comments says, "Keep being so negative. Republicans will win again if you stay on your high horse." How do you respond to that?
We supposed to be on the high horse. That's what y'all tell us. Pull ourselves up by the bootstraps, right? And then when we do pull ourselves up by the bootstraps, you motherfuckers tell us to now get on the high horse too. Then we get on the high horse, motherfuckers gonna tell me, get your ass on the taller building. No, you're droning us out. You can't drone your society out. You should. Every country, if you notice, to me, the most happiest people are the most healthiest, most productive countries.
Yeah.
I don't see why now in America we sit here and we punch to the side instead of still trying not to get these corporations to pay us livable wages, pharmaceutical companies to lower their prices, corporate greed to be regulated. But instead, we rather put on steel-toed boots and work 80 hours a week. We just silly ass drones. That's all.
Damn. All right, unapologetic. You absolutely lived up to your name. I appreciate you coming on. I do got to move it on, man. But wow. So bending over for the Heritage Foundation, huh?
I mean, you see, trial down, makeup on the pillow, orange makeup when he does every room he leaves, orange makeup on the pillow. So again, it's just sad that our president is prostituting himself out now. I'd rather the first Trump. At least the first Trump was just a complete idiot and didn't care. He was belligerent, didn't have anybody behind him, especially at the end. They just left. They was tired of the shit. But this time, like I said, you're not gonna hear any complaints from the Heritage Foundation because he's doing everything they want.
Wow. Now I don't expect to hear any complaints from the Heritage Foundation. I do agree with that last part. Unapologetic.
I mean, from the right period, not just from the right. Have you noticed? You haven't heard any complaints about anything.
Epstein.
Think about it.
Epstein.
Yeah, I mean, they complain about it, but now they sitting here talking about Obama created it. So they rabbit. I told you they asked me to take shots. They will chew and bite at anybody Trump tell them to. Just rabbit ass dogs. Keep them in the cage. Just get them their shots. Have a great night, Tim, man. Thanks for letting me.
All right, unapologetic black man. It is indeed. Wow. Drives a hard bargain. Getting what I voted for, says Captain Chronic 420. That's a common slogan that, despite how critical folks get of President Trump, generally when you see videos on people criticizing Trump, the comment section features a lot of MAGA saying, this is what we voted for. We're happy. I still I still stand by the notion that most MAGA are happy with Trump. They're quite happy with him. And even in regards to Epstein, I personally, this is where maybe some people disagree with me, but I don't think Epstein matters. I really don't. I believe that as long as Trump is doing the overwhelming majority of what people agree with, as long as he's doing enough of what they agree with, they're not going to slam him for Epstein. I think the sentiment would be something like 90% of what he's done is really good for this country. I'm not going to slam him for the other 10. So if they don't get Epstein, I think that will be the mindset is, okay, I wanted Epstein too, but he did everything else. He, promises made, promises kept, or something like that. And I'll give him a pass on it. That's the way, and that's kind of why I believe Trump is kind of slamming us with so many things that he's doing, is because MAGA favors all of this stuff. Anyhow, I do want to continue on. Just real quick, what me and my last guest was discussing, because it goes in line with today's topic. Trump did state this.
Black journalists calling them a loser, saying the questions that they ask are, quote, stupid and racist. You've had dinner with a white supremacist at your Mar-a-Lago resort. So my question, sir, now that you are asking Black supporters to vote for you, why should Black voters trust you after you have used language like that?
Well, first of all, I don't think I've ever been asked a question so in such a horrible manner. First question. You don't even say, hello, how are you? I have been the best president for the Black population since Abraham Lincoln. That's my answer.
Better than President John.
Best president for the Black population since Abraham Lincoln. And you notice he says that with conviction. He's confident. Best president for the Black population since Abraham Lincoln. We'll continue on with the show. Tap the screen, get the likes on up to 40,000. We can make that happen if you let your thumbs not be lazy. Now play Biden saying you're not Black. We've played that clip a bunch, but I don't know what relevance it is to play Biden at this point. I just don't understand. I mean, Biden is gone. If we play a clip from Biden and you want to suggest that Biden is a racist or Biden hates Black, he's gone. Okay, they voted him out. I don't understand what the relevance is of bringing up Biden. He's gone. I mean, who do you want to bring up next? Lyndon Johnson. Let's not forget that Donald Trump is a convicted felon, and who would better understand the criminal minds than a fellow criminal? Wow. Too early to say Trump doing the most. He's about to oversee college sports next. Is he really? Not aware of that. So what we're talking about certainly is, biggest topic is Trump has been critical of the Smithsonian focusing on slavery, critical of the Junth holiday, yet favorable to renaming bases after Confederate generals and soldiers. And I'm asking the question, why does it appear as if Trump is favorable to Confederates and critical to the history of slavery when you take into consideration that both events were happening simultaneously? Why is that? Going back to the box, Jesus anointed GCNM, so I don't know what that means. Shame on you, grow with EBT car section 8. Okay, whatever that means. Real quick, I think I got both of my YouTubes up, so my apologies for anybody that YouTube went down. I don't know why it happened, but let me continue on with Sherbert. Good evening, Sherbert. Welcome to the program. So I take it you've been listening in. Why do you think he's critical of the Smithsonian discussing or focusing on slavery? He's critical of the Juneteenth holiday. You got a lot of noise in the background there, Sherbert.
Yeah, I'm trying to get to a quieter place.
Yeah, it sounds like you knocking around steel there. But why is he apparently critical of discussion or events on slavery, but favorable to the Confederate movement, history, whatever you want to call it, when they were both happening simultaneously? Can you explain that?
I mean, it's pretty clear to me that he wishes he was the antebellum plantain owner. If he was just in a different time, he would have been one of those people running one of those big houses.
So you're saying that you feel like...
Same way he was talking to those reporters, he wants them to be going, yes, Big Daddy.
Wow. So you're saying you can see Trump as potentially owning human beings?
Oh, 100%. If this was a different time, You couldn't convince me otherwise.
Wow. But the man just,
I mean, a real estate mogul just 150 years before, 100%.
But you heard the man say he's done more for blacks than anybody since Abraham Lincoln.
I've also heard him say literally thousands of lies. So I don't know what your point is on that one.
Well, my point is that's what came out of the guy's mouth. So you don't. So when you say thousands of lies, so in other words, you're not very trustworthy of Trump.
Oh God, no. And that's what drives me probably the most crazy is when you listen to his supporters, they don't have any actual logical arguments. It's just Trump good. And then they say, oh, all you think is Trump bad. Yeah, because all you have is Trump good. You have no real reasonable arguments when it comes to why we should treat people well or give them health insurance or housing or not militarize the streets of Washington, D.C. So if they're saying they just want to save lives in Ukraine and not actually offer any of aggression towards Putin, well, then you're not saving any lives. Get fucked.
So what are you saying that
Damn, it's like,
are you saying that MAGA views Trump as orange man good?
yeah, 100%. And when you listen to them try and debate back, they never have anything.
And my God, you're getting attacked like crazy on YouTube. My God, somebody says I can hear the gay in his voice. The dude on the phone is dumb as a bag of rocks. They don't seem to like you for some reason.
I don't really give a shit what they think, Tim.
Another sick one here with TDS. Listen, I'm just
no. The derangement syndrome goes the other way. I look at what he said and the quality of the person, and if you can't look past all of his horrible, horrible things he said and done, then you have TDS, not me. Jesus, these fucking idiots.
I gotta present it. So let me ask you also, in addition to this, and so you see Trump as having dreams of being a slave owner if he came up in that era. But I also want to ask you, now when it comes to what Gavin Newsom is talking about doing in retaliation to Greg Abbott in Texas, it's starting to look like several states may start gerrymandering their votes and things like that. Now, Trump has made it clear he's a big opponent. He's against not gerrymandering, but rigged elections. He came down in the escalator in 2015. In 2015, he said it's rigged, it's all rigged. He's against rigging elections. How do you view this now that it's starting to look like we may have several states gerrymandering our elections simultaneously?
I mean, we have to push back against the literal extremists that are in control of the country at the moment. But when he's talking with Zelensky and saying, well, maybe in 3.5 years we'll have a war and then won't have any elections.
He did say
even
that.
Though our constitution is different than the Ukrainian constitution. So that literally wouldn't work, but he's too stupid to have actually read the constitution or listened to people that know it.
Wait a minute.
And so he's going to do something stupid. We're going to have a false flag, almost guaranteed.
Sherbert, he is the president of the United States. Are you telling me you believe that Trump has not read the Constitution? For Christ's sake, he actually sold it as part of his Bible. You're telling me you don't think he read the Constitution?
No, because he doesn't know what's in it. And every time it comes up, he goes, I don't know, let me ask my lawyers.
Well, maybe he wants a better interpretation of it.
No, it's pretty clear he's never read it. The same way he's never read a single verse out of the Bible.
I would assume he's read at least some of
Except
it.
Corinthians 2. We love Corinthians 2. Jesus.
Do you see anything? I mean, based on the way you're talking, do you see anything favorable about Trump at all? You seem like you really hate the guy.
He's getting rid of the penny. I'll be happy about that.
I haven't heard anything more about that, though.
No, because it's not actually going to happen. It's just something he said. The same way he lies about literally everything. I'm so confused when they will take everything he said as God's honest truth. And it's guaranteed to happen, even though he is literally constantly saying horse shit that never ends up happening.
Give me...
I heard something about descheduling marijuana. I'm not even going to put an ounce of faith in that because he doesn't care about it. He's never going to do it. Unless it's tax breaks for the billionaires, he doesn't give a shit.
So you believe him talking about making marijuana closer to being legal is not going to happen either then?
No, God no.
Wow. There's got to be.
I mean, I didn't have very high hopes with Biden, and it didn't happen.
Yeah.
But I guarantee it won't happen with Trump.
I mean,
I'll put money on it at least.
wow. Then that's pretty much close to a guarantee as you can get. I mean, when you say they can make money out of it, I mean, because they spend I think the problem. Here's where I think the problem is. Because the Republicans are more favorable to private prisons and private penal institutions because they make money off of that. And if you legalize marijuana, the people who make profits off of incarceration is not going to like that because there's a whole lot of people that are serving time for marijuana-based crimes. So that's where I can see where you may be correct that they're not going to be favorable to legalizing marijuana because they make more money off of incarceration and all of the punishments that go along with it. But I also agree with you if they could make money off of it. I mean, there has to be a way to make money off of it for the Trump administration by legalizing it, right?
Yes, but you're forgetting one crucial point here. That cruelty is the point. And so if it means opening more businesses for people that look like you, Tim, versus people opening prisons and keeping this illegal for people that look like me, well, you know which side Trump's already going to go for when he wants to take slavery out of the Smithsonian.
So you really see this guy as not being favorable to black people.
I see him as the Antichrist.
Damn! Elaborate. What the hell do you mean by that?
I mean, every story I've ever heard about the Antichrist fits just about perfectly over Trump. So I'm pretty damn sure he's the reckoning of our world. And it really wouldn't surprise me if we go into a fight at the end of his 4 years and he drops the nukes on us.
Wait a minute.
I mean, that's alarmist, but it really wouldn't surprise me too hard. If he felt like he was losing and wasn't going to get any control, he would go extreme. Guaranteed. He already tried to take over the Capitol and hang Mike Pence. What do you think's going to happen next time? This is why I fought so hard and screamed so loud when he was being elected again.
Whoa. You could see Trump leading America to civil unrest, obviously choosing a side as opposed to trying to unite us. And the side he chooses, he would be willing to defend that side by potentially launching atomic weapons on the other side. Wow. Using nukes on our own
really
people.
Wouldn't surprise me.
Shit.
Yeah, I think so.
You do realize the man is already in his 80s. Why would he go? I mean, you make him sound like Gaddafi or Idi Amin.
Tim, if you're going to trust what MAGA says, they're going to go what he just said at that press conference. I want to save life. All I want to do is save life. And then that's good enough for them. I don't believe that horse shit for a second.
Wow. And I see in the comments, you know, when Gangsta Grandma be coming down on me, when you talked about using nukes on your own people, I'm your angel, Joe says, and Tim will still see both sides of that. No, there is no both sides. But that is funny. No, that's fucked up. There is no both sides to using atomic weapons on your own people, but that was.
When I say I agree with Gangsta Grandma like 90-80% of the time, this is why. I'm just as extreme, just I'm not screaming at you while I talk about it.
Well, I mean, based on what you're saying, though, if you feel the way you do, I guess I would understand why you're elevated, why you would be passionate. You see Trump as, like you said, you see him as the Antichrist. You see him as just a genuinely bad person.
I don't know what good he's done for people other than what you're going to say is the HBCUs, even though he literally cut it out of his budget every year that he finalized his budgets. So, no, I don't see him ever doing anything good for people ever, unless you're a billionaire or Putin.
Well, some are going to say he's brought safety back to America by getting rid of violent immigrants.
Yeah, horseshit.
I mean, but we have
done xenophobia and anger.
But
cruelty's the point, Tim. Don't forget.
I get that, but Sherbert, you're telling me Trump has not deported any violent immigrants at all?
Yeah, I'm sure a couple the first 2 weeks, okay. And then he ran out of them, and has been going after the abuelitas and the people at Home Depot.
I don't know if I agree with that. Didn't they just have an illegal immigrant that was driving a truck, I believe was it in California? So just ran over a few people the other day. So he's still here, and he's not here
That was
illegal.
in Florida.
Florida, okay, Florida, yeah, Florida. Okay, so there clearly is still bad hombres in the country.
Yeah, but car accidents are always going to happen, and when you use that to justify racial profiling, it's not really helping anybody.
Sherbert, he has a CDO and he can't speak English, can't even read the road signs.
I disagree, but I don't know, Tim. I really only heard a bare periphery of that story, but literally traffic accidents happen forever, and we're never going to go to full self-driving. So I'm just not very interested in that story.
I mean, well, do you favor somebody who is here undocumented, not even here legally, having a CDL license and driving trucks at all?
No, I don't really have a problem with that.
You don't have a
I'm
problem
also
with
very
somebody
open on immigration.
You don't know who this person is, Sherbert. You don't know what their criminal history is. This
Then
could
where
be
do you get the license?
That's the point. He should not have had
You
the
can
license.
get a driver's license. No, you can get a driver's license being undocumented.
No, we're not
And then
talking.
they still know who you are.
Yeah, now I'll agree with part of that because when I lived overseas in Australia, I was able to get a driver's license. However, now you're talking about a CDL, which is a license to conduct business. And that's a big difference from a regular driver's license. He had a CDL and he has no legal right to be here. You said you don't have a problem with that.
Not really. But I also grew up in California and a large part of my life in Texas. You know, two major borders. There are immigrants literally around me all the time. I do not give a fuck. And if people are going to fearmonger, they can fuck right off.
Do you believe you should have to speak English to have a CDL license?
Not really. It would help.
How the hell do
But
you...
when we start forcing a language, we're not any better than the Nazis.
So if a state trooper pulls you over or you go to a way station, you can't... So what, they got to make sure people at the way station speaks a whole bunch of languages?
Don't we already make sure that happens
No.
for ICE and Border Patrol?
Well,
Are you saying we can't make sure to pay them a little bit more when we have the bilingual inspectors? Are you saying adding more qualifications is a bad thing, Tim?
No, I'm saying a lot. If you're coming to America and the predominant language is English and you're going to work as a driver, you should be required to speak English. I don't see what's so...
So, Tim, you're full of shit.
How
In the
so?
sheer fact of we have so many semis that come over from the next Mexican border, from the Canadian border, from all the fuck over, and not all of them speak English. If they're just dropping off a load, you're saying they must know English before they pass into the borders? Get fucked.
In my opinion...
It's just xenophobia.
No.
Stop it.
I gotta disagree with you. And you are right about the Mexican drivers that come in the country, but in my opinion, if you can't prove that you can read the sign, I mean, how do you read an exit sign? What do? Just put your GPS in your language and go by that alone? I mean, because if you...
Yes.
And if the GPS goes down, you just lost.
At that, Tim, are we saying no, everyone's retarded here? Once you know what the sign, once you've done this for a little bit and your GPS goes down, you go, oh, the 50 miles an hour is always been, I don't know, 72 kilometers per hour. And so you generally are going to know the signs after your fifth time doing this. And if your GPS goes down, well, then we'll figure it out. But you're acting as if everything is catastrophe and we've never learned ever. And I'm really getting tired of you putting down everybody that's not fucking black or white.
I don't see this as putting people down. I see it as a safety hazard. If you can't speak,
GPS goes down, everyone's fucked. They're going to cause another accident.
If you can't speak the language of the country, you don't even know what exit you're getting off because you can't read the sign. I don't see how you don't see that as a problem.
I mean, if I go to Mexico, I'm kind of fucked. If I go to Spain, I'm kind of fucked. Yeah. I mean, this literally happens all over the world, and it's not really a problem with people with international driver's licenses, and I can't read that sign everywhere I go, is not the end of the world.
Yeah, but you're not hauling thousands of pounds worth of merchandise.
I don't know. I could be driving an F-350. That's thousands of pounds of destructive metal. I just think you're looking at you're trying to play both sides a little too hard right here to appease MAGA.
I just believe you should.
I don't have a problem with immigrants, Tim, and that's my main argument here.
I don't have a problem with
So
immigrants.
what if they can't read our signs?
I don't have a problem with
immigrants. That's what the apps are for. That's what the people who know how to speak Spanish and they work for these agencies and they have to be duolingual. to be able to do this, Tim. I can't get that job because I don't know how to speak multiple languages.
I don't have a problem with immigrants whatsoever, but if you're on our nation's highways hauling around dangerous sized loads, you should be required to speak English to do that job. Not if you just want to drive a personal vehicle, like you mentioned, having an international license, that's one thing. But when you're hauling big ass loads down the mountains on a Appalachian or on a rocky coast, as an over-the-road driver myself, a former over-the-road driver, I know how hard it is, how difficult it is to drive in the mountains. If you don't have the ability to simply speak English, I don't know if I favor that. Not as a truck driver. Your own personal car, that's one thing, but a truck driver with dangerous loads, dangerous weight behind you, I don't know if I favor that, Sherbert.
I don't know, Tim. It just runs that line of xenophobia so hard that I'm questioning just letting you get away with it, saying all this shit. And generally, I'm even keeled, but people get so upset about immigrants that it drives me crazy as someone who's lived near and around immigrants literally my entire life. And so when people from Michigan start talking horse shit, I start getting mad.
So you believe requiring immigrants that want to drive trucks, I'm not talking about personal vehicles, immigrants that want to drive trucks, you believe requiring them to speak English is a form of xenophobia?
A little bit, yeah.
All right, we can agree.
I thought we're America, land of the free, not land of the only speak fucking English.
I didn't say you couldn't come here. I mean, just like to fly a plane, English is the language they speak. You don't get on the plane and say, I'm going to speak whatever I want as a pilot. You need to know how to speak English to fly a plane. That's what you communicate in. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying you can't come here. It's just certain jobs you got to, can you join the U.S. military without being able to speak any English at all? I don't think they would let you in there. So it ain't.
I think you can.
You can join the U.S. military without being able to speak any lick of English.
To be fair, I have no idea. I've never joined the military. Yeah. So I couldn't tell you for certain, but there's got to be people that didn't speak enough English and they still let them in because they want the heart of someone, not necessarily the exact culture of someone.
Well, just to correct even myself, I do see folks in the comments that are saying, yeah, you can do that. So I'll leave it at that. But I will just follow, before I'm moving on from you, there's a host of jobs in this country that the employer would not hire you if you can't speak English. I mean, let's just be honest. I mean, that's where I disagree with you. I don't think it's about xenophobia, because there's a whole lot of corporations and businesses that would not hire you if you can't speak English. How can you communicate with my customers? A lot of American businesses would not hire. And I'm telling you, even if you were born and raised in America, 100% U.S. citizen, but even if you walked in McDonald's and you're in a neighborhood that everybody speaks English and you come in there, well, I only speak German, they're not going to hire you. I mean, it's just the way you need that language to communicate. You don't see that?
I mean, I do. I just want to fight you on it. It sounds so wrong. And I see in a lot of occasions, but when we start making that mandatory by the federal government, it gets real creepy when we have a racist in office.
Well, I'll leave it at that, but I will just say this. They wouldn't have to worry about that if they made the effort to learn the language before they came to the country. Sherbert, appreciate you coming through. Thank you.
Have a good night.
Always. Appreciate it. In the comments real quick, Will G says, Trump ain't shit. Says Trump ain't shit. Now that we know that they're about to spend $45 million to paint the border wall black, as if it will change anything. Are you sure the border is secure, or is it just right-wing propaganda? I tend to think the border will remain secure as long as Trump is in office, but that whole Christy Nome painting the border wall black, it falls in line with what my last caller just stated. Cruelty is the point. I mean, you're literally indicating I want the wall to burn their hands and shit like that. Now I know my beloved MAGA is going to champion and applaud making the wall hot as you can. I mean, but I do believe, I've said before in the program many times, and thank you, Will G, for the support. Appreciate that. I do believe that among the ranks of MAGA, it probably wouldn't be hard to get a host of them to favor executing people that enter the country illegally. I mean, for the most part, if you enter America illegally, MAGA wants the worst for you, up to and including death. Anyway, looking in the comments, also gloves will fix that. So you put on some gloves that can handle heat, and you climb. I mean, look, if yeah, I do agree with you. If you want to get over, you're going to find a way to get over or through or whatever. But as long as he has, rather get my English correct, as long as he has as many military personnel on the border as he has right now, it's going to be real hard to get across. It's not perfect, but there is no way in hell, and I've had a bunch of my guests counter me on this, but I don't believe there's any way in hell that the border is as easy to come across under Trump as it was under Biden. I believe it's much harder under President Trump. Pizuzu, I think that says, good evening, welcome to the program. Saying Trump is not racist is like saying the KKK accepts black people into the club. Damn, that's pretty solid. I want to hear from my guest. So you're saying that Trump, he said, my guest, this viewer says that saying Trump is not racist is like saying the KKK accepts black. Well, wasn't there Clayton Bigsby? What is the name there? Pizuzu?
Pizuzu.
Pizuzu. Okay. Good evening. Welcome to the program. What am I getting wrong here?
I mean, well, I'm mostly up here to talk about what your last guest said. Listen, bro. As soon as you start having any kind of opinion that sort of goes against whatever group thought they're having, I swear they want to call you all kinds of racial slurs. I mean, even Gangsta Granny be on the borderline of calling you all types of Uncle Toms and coos and stuff. I just can't be jiggy with it. Look, the last guest.
You ought to see. You ought to see what. Hold on. When you're talking about Gangsta Grandma, my last call and what they're calling me, you ought to see what they call me from the MAGA side on my YouTube. YouTube call me. I mean, my MAGA audience tear into me as well. I'm a libtard, a socialist, the N-word. You name it.
I'm not for any of that. You know what I'm saying? I think that you should be allowed to have your own independent thoughts about what it is that you like you said. We should have some requirements for when people come to the country and work. Working is not a universal good when it comes to the country, right? So, did you just hear about the story? I think it was out of South Carolina, the DMV office where they were falsifying documents and stealing identities to get people who had never taken a driver's test ever licenses, right? So you're starting to see a lot of the corruption that comes from having these open border policies, of having all these undocumented workers, and all of the hot fixes and the workarounds people are having to do to get through the system. That story about the truck driver, right? Dude, he was denied a work visa, came into the country illegally in 2018. He was denied a work permit by the Trump administration in 2019. In 2021, he got a permit and a work permit, and basically he busted a straight U-turn on a highway, and people going 75 miles an hour, and those people died on impact.
There's a video of that, right? He's making an illegal turn, and the people can't stop, and they run into his trailer, and I think he takes out 3 people lose their life or something like that.
He wasn't even bothered, not even one bit. He was looking like, man, this is a mountain for me. So it's like, bro, you just killed these people because you can't follow rules and regulations about how to behave on the road. Like, my grandmother was a truck driver for a lot of years, right? You can't just put anybody on a truck trailer and say, go ahead and work. First of all, that's a job that people get paid a good amount of money to do. And so when you have these people who are willing to take loads for less, you're completely destroying the trucking market. You know, my grandma would haul gasoline and all kinds of, explosive materials. You need training and education and communication to do that. And to just chalk it up as xenophobia, listen, these are luxury beliefs. These are white folks with luxury beliefs when they say stupid stuff like this, because for the most part, they're not going to be impacted by things like that. And he goes, yeah, I'm not really worried about it, because he might not be the one to plow into the side of a tractor trailer. But, I can't remember if this was 100% true, so I have to look it up, but it was a truck driver by the same name, out of the same town, with the same company, who actually, in 2020, I think, he collapsed the bridge. And, that's the kind of stuff, it's like, well, it's different cultures and different levels.
You make a good point, because when you're driving down a highway, they give you the height of the bridge that's coming up, and it's in foot and inches, and we use a measurement that for the most part none of the world uses anymore. Everybody else uses the metric system. So if you see a bridge that's coming up and they say it's only 13 feet tall, if you've been brought up on the metric system, you may not know what 13 feet even is. I mean, because everybody else around the world, I don't know any other country that still uses feet. Because when I was in Australia, that was my biggest issue. I mean, like, there is no mile per hour in any of their cars. All the cars, all the street signs, everything is in kilometers. And I mean, if you're from another country, you might just see the sign that says 13 and just instantly think it means, something else and doesn't mean feet. So I can see what you're talking about.
Yeah, I mean, and the thing is, it's extremely dangerous. People are hauling all kinds of materials, waste, explosives, medical stuff. But there's so many things that truckers do to maintain this infrastructure that people in the cities enjoy, and they don't even think about it. But not only that, but like think about all the truck drivers who've had their entire economic situation upset by having influx of all these workers who are not qualified to do it. They're not qualified to do it. Think about the mile per hour rate that people are actually willing to work for. It's super crazy. And all of these white folks who are super liberal, they believe this stuff because it's not going to impact them. And so it's a luxury belief, and it affects the working class people in this country. And to say that there's no negative outputs that come from having mass immigration or having a lot of undocumented workers in your country is straight up delusional. And they're so worried about not appearing racist. But the instant you step out of having the ideological thought they want to, bro, I swear to God, I can hear it in the back of their throat. And
well, let me. Speaking of things that appear racist, now I'm going to transition to another topic based on that. How do you feel about the fact that Trump is criticizing the Smithsonian for focusing on slavery? He made it clear he didn't like the Junth holiday on Juneteenth, but he's also renaming bases back after Confederate generals. Why is he favorable to the history of Confederates, but critical to the history of slavery?
I think that he's an old 80-something-year-old white man. I mean, what did you expect anything else?
What does that mean, though?
I think there's a lot of people who are not necessarily super liberal or who are sort of like, center left, center right, who have made a Faustian bargain with Trump because of the trajectory that we were on, bro. This country was about to be done. I truly feel that way.
So the trajectory that we're on now is we're going to be favorable to Confederate history and start getting rid of the mention of slavery?
I don't know. I don't really have an answer.
Well, you said because he's doing that. You used the fact that he's an old 80-year white man. Are you saying that that's typical? Hold on. Are you saying that is typical for old white men to favor the Confederacy versus and not want to hear about slavery?
I think that, like most old white men, they probably think of it as an extremely divisive period of time to have a hyperfixation on from a cultural standpoint.
Yeah, but Pizuzu, slavery in the Confederate history, all of this stuff happened at the exact same time. So why are you picking the Confederate side and not wanting to hear about slavery? These things were happening on the same days. This is not like two different periods in history. This all was happening at the same time.
I mean, he's also appealing to his base. I'm not hyper fixated on that portion of this presidency. I was hoping you were going to bring up DC more than this topic because I think
we can go into that, but I do want to ask you, how do you respond to folks who might suggest that favoring the Confederacy and actually trying to downplay, if not silence, slavery makes him appear as if he's racist? I mean, I don't want to hear about the plight of black people, but I do want to hear about the plight of their oppressors during the same period. How do you respond to that?
I think that it's a bad optics for him. It's not what I would do if I was in his shoes. But hey, that's him.
So when you say bad optics, you're saying that it does look kind of racist.
Oh, absolutely. Oh yeah, no. There's no missing words on that. It is what it is.
Getting rid of the Juneteenth holiday. He talked about possibly doing that. What do you think about that?
I mean, I definitely enjoy Juneteenth. I think that it definitely should continue to be a federal holiday. I think he's definitely being petty because it's a Joe Biden implemented federal holiday. So I think there's definitely a lot of pure politics being played here.
So when he talks about getting rid of the Juneteenth holiday on Juneteenth, and by the way, he didn't acknowledge the holiday at all. He just simply talked about too many holidays. What do you say to somebody who might say talking about getting rid of the Juneteenth holiday is racist?
I listen. I don't have no argument for that. I think that it definitely probably is racist. Like I said, I think there's a certain pure politics to it where he's like, I need to eradicate every single thing that Joe Biden did. That's the game that's been played between the two parties for the last 12 years.
Now, did you vote for Trump or Biden or Kamala? Who did you vote for?
I voted for Trump this time.
Okay. And so you're admitting then you voted for the guy, but you do understand why people might be. So when people call him a racist, you don't think that's coming out of left field. You think there is something possibly there.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's 82. What did we? I mean, I don't understand. Well, I mean, for me, I don't think we talked about this last time. I was Obama, Hillary, Biden, Trump.
Now you're African American, correct?
Yeah.
So then I'm gonna ask you the obvious question: was Kamala that bad that you're voting for somebody that you're admitting probably doesn't like people like you?
Yeah, Kamala was pretty bad.
What was she doing? What the direction for America, in your opinion? What about it was worse than hating people that look like you?
So I wouldn't. There's a general malaise of racism in this country that I don't think is necessarily chocolate to hate. I think it's just a lot of prejudice about people. I don't really see any direct systemic, racism that hasn't already.
Yeah, but what about just simply getting rid of your history?
But just to talk about Kamala before I touch on that point.
Sure.
Her economic policy was absurd. Based on her projections, she was going to have a complete, what's the word? When it basically a lame duck presidency. She was going to barely inch out a victory and still not win the House or Senate potentially. And then her economic policies didn't make any sense. I thought they would complete to like overheating the economy. Her tenure as the border czar, which is sort of an unappointed position of reaching out to the South American countries to try to stem the tide, was a complete failure. The idea that we need to be have our cities spending almost $1 billion a year putting migrants in hotels is.
Yeah, I've said it before. You're not going to get anybody to secure the border more than Trump. So if the border was your concern, Trump is definitely the right guy to vote in, because you weren't going to get that out of any liberal. But when you admit that the guy is somewhat racist, I just wanted to find out what was Kamala doing that was so bad that you would go to that. So I did want to hear that. I think you got a low signal or something there, Pizuzu. Are you there still? Okay, apparently he dropped or something happened there. We'll move it on. Tap the screen, folks. By the way, we can make 60,000 happen. That's a bit much. It's a smaller audience, but tap the screen, get the likes up. For you folks on YouTube, feel free to smash that like button. And for those who may be watching on Instagram, understand we are uncensored. We don't block, ban, or censor anybody. Doesn't matter what your comments are. Doesn't matter what your politics are. This is a free speech program. Every day, all day. And of course, we will always remain MAGA friendly. Been that way since day one, always will be that way. We go left of Bernie Sanders to I'm having dinner with Q. So if you like that kind of interaction from all sides of the aisle without any censorship, and you got to get another HDMI cable here. But if you like that type of open dialogue, feel free to follow the program if you happen to be watching currently on Instagram, TikTok, and give your boy a sub if you happen to be watching on YouTube. And real quick, before I go to the next caller and go back to the comments, I'm going to ask you folks once again, pleading with you folks, because I do want to go on Facebook Live. That's going to be the next platform. You see scrolling behind me, the sign saying follow Tim Liberals. I only need about 11 more of you. So I'm asking with the most level of sincerity, if you have a Facebook account, go, search, bring up your Facebook, type in Tim Liberals with an S. You'll see my mug on there. Make whatever comments you want, but click the follow button. I only need about, less than a dozen of you more. So follow Tim Liberals on Facebook, because that is going to be the next platform we're going to be going live on. It won't cost. All of these platforms will still be here. So if you're used to watching on Instagram, you're used to watching on TikTok or YouTube, will remain there as well. But do your boy a solid, follow Tim Liberal. So looking in the comments though, I got kicked off Facebook. Don't know why that happened. You must have said or did something that was wild. Facebook kicked you off? What can you do to get kicked off on Facebook? Posting something crazy must be to get you kicked off there. Will G says, speaking about Australia, how about China subbing American beef to go for Australian beef? That's going to be happening a lot. I've been, during the day when I'm working my day job, I usually have an earpiece in my ear and I'm listening to all kinds of shit that's going on. There are plenty of areas where Trump's politics are not favorable to a lot of businesses. I'm hearing Target, for instance, their anti-woke approach. They got some of the worst stock in the game right now. People are avoiding Target. They're paying a price for getting involved. Look, if you own a business, you should stay the fuck out of politics. I'm talking about liberals and Democrats, liberals and Republicans. If you own a business and your customers are every damn body, you should stay the fuck out of politics. Getting involved in politics instantly chops your customer base in half. And Target is hurting right now for getting involved in that anti-woke stuff. So I would say another one is the state of Florida. The state of Florida, which is known for what they call snowbirds. Canadians that come down to Florida during their brutal winters. And they actually purchase timeshares and property. They don't just come and stay in a hotel for a week like you or I might do on vacation. They go down there and hang out for a few months. They spend a lot more money than one of us in America. And as a result, with Trump talking about making Canada the 51st state, the Canadians are avoiding. I'm having a bite moment there. The Canadians are avoiding America like the plague. Vegas is crying out. Florida is having a problem with its tourism all over the place. So you can expect Disney World, folks down at the tip, Naples, Fort Myers, all of that shit down there. People want to go in, great places to go. It's their politics. They got involved following with Trump, talking about how the Canadians need Florida more than Florida need the Canadians. Same thing Trump said about the job market. Canadians need us more than we need them. Well, the Canadians have a right to voice their opinion as well. So getting involved in politics as a business person is a bad idea. And unfortunately, there's been a lot of folks that have jumped on board with Trump's politics, and it's cost them. I mean, we can obviously talk about Newsmax just the other day having to pay $67 million to Dominion voting machines. Just tell the damn news. You don't have to, especially in a case like that, when Trump says the Dominion voting machines are switching votes over, at least call the motherfucker and ask for proof. Don't just echo that. $67 million. Newsmax, that's not a big network. That's going to hurt them. That's going to cost people jobs. My assumption is what happened to Fox News, which is a huge news conglomerate. Still $767 billion. People got fired behind it. $1 million rather. $767 million. Certainly people lost their jobs behind that. Getting involved in politics as a business person is not smart. As Michael Jordan once said, Republicans buy shoes too. Miss Will G says, Trump to erect Confederate statues in D.C.? And telling the Smithsonian to rework the history of American history is alarming. On top of all the other bullshit he already did with the 1964 Civil Rights Act is racist. Is he really trying to erect Confederate statues in D.C.? I try to see both sides of things. I'm trying to see both sides, folks. Look, I'm just going to be honest with you. He's making it harder and harder to deny a few comments that people often throw at him. Confederate statues in the nation's. Why would someone do that? I just want to ask that. Why, if you're going to suggest we get over slavery and move, why would you go and erect statues to a period that's hundreds of years ago? I'm dying to talk to MAGA. Looking in the comments, Tim, how many super chats I'm giving you? Sean Herbert, you can't get a new HDMI. Come on, do better. All right, Sean, I'll do that tonight. Actually, I do have one laying around here. My whole setup is going to change. I have a bigger monitor and all kinds of more related things to what's going on. So it's not that I haven't done it. I've just been lazy. It's going to take a while to change that whole damn setup. But I have a whole new setup coming because I want the monitor to be bigger for more clarity on things like wording and tweets and shit like that. So I got a bigger screen right behind me. I just haven't put all this stuff up. So Sean Herbert, you've been very supportive of the program. And thank you for embarrassing the hell out of me by pointing that out. Will G says slavery is too woke, according to Trump. And that does appear to be what he's talking about. It really questions what the hell is woke. If you think that the Smithsonian is being too woke talking about slavery, but you're favoring Confederate statues, I don't know. You're making woke seem really enticing at that point. I don't. To me, that looks really bad. Let me go back to the box. If there were signs, what was a president? I don't know what you mean by that. No one is saying get over slavery. We are saying none of the Democrats care about the slavery happening today. Those are two different topics, though. That's two different topics. Going back to the box, the one and only Gangsta Grandma. Good evening, Gangsta.
You sorry ass. And then last caller, you house ninja, kiss my black ass. How about
What
that?
the hell?
Oh yeah, you got a house ninja. Oh my God, I don't like how she talks to you. Oh my God, get the fuck out of here. You got a problem? Cause we can square the fuck up.
Let me ask
For
you.
real, for real.
Okay, well, we don't want to talk about squaring the fuck up. Johnny in the
We will square the fuck up. No, see, I don't bow down to the house ninjas. Okay, I will get the asses. See, I'm not like you. Okay, that motherfucker don't know shit. How he go get the whip? That's what he likes. He likes to coming out his mouth. He likes sucking on a white man.
Okay.
Shut the fuck up.
And I see in the comments, Johnny says, I don't think Trump is a racist, though.
Trump is very much a racist. He don't want the real truth about slavery. And let me tell you something, mister. I don't want everyone to speak English. Read. This country wasn't built on English. Okay, it was Native American English, okay? And it was Spanish. So get your black ass to go speak Spanish. How about that?
Did you hear what I said, though? I said if you...
No, did you hear what I said?
Yeah, I heard what you said.
You heard what I said.
I heard what you said, and it's not making...
If they work here, if they drive a truck here, they need to speak. No, they don't.
Yeah,
Where?
they do.
Where? No, they don't. There's bilingual people all over there. That's how they get paid more. Okay?
No.
When they stop and they weigh in, they have somebody there that speaks Spanish and English. Get your facts straight. And FYI to the little house ninja that was talking before about that trucker, his brakes failed him. His brakes failed him. Okay? His truck wasn't up to par. It wasn't him.
Wait a minute. You're telling me that... Hold on, Gangsta, you're not letting me talk to you at all. You're telling me that the guy who makes it...
Who gonna talk to an uneducated fool?
You're telling me that the truck that's literally caught on video making an illegal U-turn in the middle of the damn highway, his brakes failed?
Yeah, his brakes really
It doesn't matter. The turn... It doesn't...
I don't care. The damn Americans do fuck shit like that too. What are you talking about? Sorry, I'm huffing and puffing. I got some gas. But the Americans be doing that. They speak fucking English. What the hell are you talking about?
He made an illegal U-turn. Doesn't matter if his brakes failed or not.
And his brakes still failed him. They said it. His brakes still failed him. And let me tell you something. I see a lot of truckers doing shit.
What does that got to do with this? What does that got to do with this guy?
What does have to do with it? They all fuck up. So what's your point?
So you're telling me
the color of his skin, and he didn't speak English.
I didn't say nothing about the color of his skin.
Why don't you go after the white team people? The white truckers then. They do the same crap.
No.
What are you talking about? You're just profiling him because he don't speak. Yes, you are.
No.
I'm telling you, get that come out your mouth.
It's
really not. It's not really.
Okay, wait, hold on. The idea that you would believe that someone could drive a dangerous semi-truck in this country without being able to speak the language sounds crazy.
There's a lot of Hispanics, even people that is from the United States, that don't speak English. They are United States, and they drive trucks, they drive cars, they speak, they go to McDonald's. Oh, honey bunny, Pookie, Ray. Do you realize you go here to California and you go and order a burger? They don't speak English. Okay, and what is your damn point?
If you're going to...
They're still doing the job.
let me answer what the damn point is. If you're going to go to a country where the predominant language is English, why not make the effort?
No, the one that made it that way is your racist, bipolar ass, no good for nothing, trailer trash president. He made that.
The language.
It was never official. English was never official.
You know, I got viewers, Gangster Grandma, that are saying it is the mindset of you and certainly Sherbert that is why the liberals keep losing with this far progressive shit.
My black ass too. Okay, I'm not. I'm woke, and I'm very woke. Yeah, and they don't even know what the definition of woke is. The white man took it like they usually take everything else, and they said, "Oh, everything's woke. Everything is woke." No, you don't even know the definition of woke is.
But having trucks on the damn highway where the drivers don't speak the language seems crazy.
Well, why don't you tell the people that speak Italian and shit?
What are you talking about?
There's a lot of people that speak different languages that drive trucks here. What are you talking about?
I don't know. To me, and I see in the comments someone.
I think it's not a big deal. I think you should mind your business and stay in your English lane. How about that? And quit drinking your uncooked protein before you get listeria. Because I think the salmonella is really eating your fucking brain.
I think you should focus. I think you should focus on safety and protecting our highways. This is where.
Well, they get the Americans off the fucking highway then, because they're the ones that be doing the most. How about that? How about that?
Fighting for the right to allow truckers carrying hazmat and heavy loads to drive without English. This is indeed why the liberals come across as crazy to some folks. Do you realize that?
You know what's crazy is a black man like you bent over and said, yes, master, to the white man that will call you everything but a fucking black man. And you have shit to say. But when a woman gets on live with you, you have all shit to say. When that man called you out your fucking head colored, yes, master. But if I come straight ham with your ass, and I'm stating facts.
I didn't hear
well,
that.
You got to do some little bit of kahunas. You got a little bit of kahunas. But to the white man, yes, master. And then to that fucking idiot that was right here. Right before me. A house ninja. You did not even call that idiot out.
I did call. I asked him. I clearly asked the guy.
No. The vice president was a border czar. No, she never was. What the fuck you talking about?
I called him out.
That was right ring. So he's sucking on the white man too. He likes the uncooked protein. He wants to drink bleach too, right?
You high energy. You are high energy today. You are high energy today.
Oh, because I can't stand black men like that. The one that goes to maggots, the black man. Oh, I wish you would bring his ass up with me. Oh, let me tear his ass up. I guarantee he won't come back up again. Because you know why? Let me tell you something. That black maggot over here tearing down our vice president that did more for this country than any other vice president did, that raised $5 billion or million. It was $1 billion. $5 million for the countries so they could get help, so they wouldn't come over here. That's what she did. That's what that sister did.
Wait.
So shut your ugly, ratatouille ass down.
You're saying, wait a minute. Hold on. You're saying that Kamala Harris did more than any other vice president?
So did. Go Google it. Google it, Tim. Google it, Tim.
I think.
Get off your white horse, the cock in your mouth, and go and Google it, Tim.
I think you're going a bit too far. Real quick, hold on. Will G said, hold on, gangster, hold on. We got to have a conversation. You're dominating too much. Will G says, and then Prager, hold on, gangster grandma, hold on. Gangster, hold on. We're not having a conversation. You're just going on. Will G says, and then Prager, you is becoming the new CBS on top of all of that. That is true. And Prager, you leans right to the right. That's concerning. But so gangster grandma, I guess I know your opinion on Trump going against the history of slavery and focusing on the.
Oh yeah! Oh come on, Tim. He's an old racist. That's why I can't. That's why I go straight ham on house ninjas and the Mexicans and everybody that voted for his sorry ass. the Hispanic community, all of them, because he is taking our history out. He don't want the real history. Oh, slavery was a good thing. Where? Where was slavery a good thing? Where?
Never. So then I'm going to play this for you. I want to hear your opinion on this.
Oh my
Black
God.
journalists calling them a loser, saying the questions that they ask are, quote, stupid and racist. You've had dinner with a white supremacist at your Mar-a-Lago resort. So my question, sir, now that you are asking black supporters to vote for you, why should black voters trust you after you have used language like that?
Well, first of all, I don't think I've ever been asked a question so in such a horrible manner. First question. You don't even say, hello, how are you? I have been the best president for the black population since Abraham Lincoln.
What say you?
Really?
That's what the man said.
Tim?
That's what the
And
man
let me talk about
says.
Santana and your little twisted, what is it he called? House Ninja. Oh, this is about race. Yeah, sweetheart. When you voted for that piece of shit, yeah, it turned it about to race. Because it's going after black and brown people right now. Where's all the white people that's getting, what is it? Taken out of here. When it's mostly them that's undocumented. It's mostly white tea people from Europe.
Is that true?
So why? Yes, it is true. We already did this on your live, Tim. It is.
Most of the undocumented people in this country right now are white.
Yes. For overstayed visas. They come through the plane, Pookie. I mean, see, this is why you need to get educated. That's why the system failed you, motherfuckers. I swear to God. That's why the system failed you guys. It is. It's the truth.
I don't. Is that the way you folks
It
see in the comments? Is that what you guys see as well? Most of the folks that are in this
It is. It's overstayed visas from Europe and shit. It is.
I know.
Why are they not getting kicked out of here? But you know what happened in the 1930s? W back happened in 1930s. You know what that was? When they got American citizens, Mexican American citizens, they kicked them out of here. It's coming to pass again. They're coming. And if you think they're going to do it to only the Mexicans, you dumb Riri's, they're coming for us next. If they did it in the 30s, they're doing it now, they're coming. If you don't know what W back is, and you don't know that shit that happened in the 30s, then you're very uneducated.
So in your opinion, what do you believe Trump has in store for black people?
What do you think black jobs? Wait, he can ship us out of here. Heck, he wants to build more prisons in other fucking countries. Like he said, he's coming from the natural born now. He said it. What do you motherfuckers don't get? Tim, you on this panel letting the white man spew all this shit. The House Ninja was up here saying, oh, cause she was so bad and stuff, but she did the most. And you didn't even have her back, and you're a black man.
Well,
what the fuck is wrong with you, black men?
Gangsta Grandma, my skin color is irrelevant here. I'm letting the people speak. I believe in free speech.
It's a black woman, okay? She was a vice president. She kicked ass in the fucking shit in the damn Senate and stuff. She passed more bills than any other fucking vice president in the United States history. How dare you say, oh, I ain't gonna say nothing. Well, remember, your mama's black.
Maybe instead of hammering me, considering how great you make Kamala Harris sound, why don't you hammer all the black folks that did not vote for her ass? She got less votes. She got less votes than Joe Biden.
Oh, I do. Why you think I just went off on his sorry, ratatouille looking ass? Look,
As opposed to going off on the people that didn't vote for her. Maybe she was a bad candidate.
Let me tell you something. You don't push back. Man.
People have
you're going to lose voters.
People have a right
to lose followers.
No.
People's in my inbox say that you don't even push back like that, and they're going to drop your ass.
Maybe you need to realize that perhaps Kamala Harris was a bad candidate. It had nothing to do with skin color. Maybe she was a bad candidate.
Wow, really? Really, Tim?
She got less votes than Biden.
She went to other countries and raised over 5 billion or 5 million.
She
passed more
Gangsta,
bills.
I I don't. It doesn't matter. Gangsta.
No.
Gangsta. She got less votes than vote for me. And you ain't black. They actually voted for the guy who said that more than they voted for her.
She's not black. That's how ignorant these black folks are. She's not black. The white people. She's not black. What the fuck, man? She's half Jamaican, half Indian. She even looks more blacker than me.
That's the point I'm
You
making.
dipshit, and I'm black.
That's the point I'm making, Gangsta Grandma. She was not a good candidate in conveying her message to the people.
You know what? And the people that didn't vote for her, they could kiss my ass. You know why? Because we wouldn't be in this fucking situation. We wouldn't be the laughing stock of the United States. We are in the world. We're the laughing stock. Do you know people don't even want to come here no more? They don't. You know why they're not crossing the border? Because we have a fucking Riri in office that will do anything and anything to hurt people. Do you know how pathetic that makes us look?
Oh.
Do you know how bad that makes us look?
Trump says this country is the hottest it's ever been. We are hot.
Oh, yeah, we're hot, all right. Yeah, racism. We're hot, all right. They don't even know what woke is. The white man stole woke and took it and ran with it. Everything is woke. You talk about slavery, it's woke. You talk about real life history, you're woke. If you're a black man that's making good money, you're woke. If you own your own business being a black woman or a black man, you're woke. Anything that deals with color, you're woke.
I'll leave it at that,
what
Gangsta.
woke is.
I'll leave it at that. I do got to move it on.
You know what, Tim? Let me tell you something, Tim. You are a fucking damn dipshit for fucking hell. You are. You allow motherfuckers come up here and talk shit about black women, and you know she was good. You're just too. I swear you're drinking too much of this protein. Like, yes, master. Next time, you want me to bring a whip? You want me to bring a whip?
I don't want
And I
you to bring it
chicken you? You might like it. Because you like it from a white man, you like it from a house ninja, but when somebody comes up and tells you, you're fucking to your face, that the shit that they're doing is fucked up and every damn thing, I can't stand it. You got house ninjas right here, and I guarantee they sorry asses won't come up. That's why, you know what? Me and you need to come up. Let me come up and say one day on your thing and bring all your house ninjas up. Bring all your house
I
ninjas
gotta
up.
move it on. I
And
gotta
promise
move it on.
you,
No
I'll
more
get a
house
puppet.
ninjas.
And I
All right.
guarantee they won't come up again.
Gangsta Grandma, thank you. Thank you. Wow. Now I see the comments. Somebody said disgusting. One of my viewers did not like it. What a dumb comparison, JC. Thank you. I love your channel. Keep telling the truth. Thank you very much for that accolade. But I don't know if you're talking about me or my previous guest. She went from gun buybacks to anyone who walks in my house is going to get shot. Says she is a snake, and I feel bad for the people who believe in her. Misinformed, ignorant, and noisy. Listen, when Gangsta Grandma is on, the comments go crazy. Believe it or not, there's a lot of people that favor her. I mean, when she was hammering me, folks were in the comments like, yeah, she's right. She doesn't listen. I believe in letting people speak. I don't agree with her on everything. I certainly don't agree with letting truck drivers have the ability to drive without speaking English. I just think that is learn to speak the language if you're going to work in the country like at that level. That's just the way I feel about it. Maybe I feel that way about anybody. You want to be a conductor on a train, you want to be a pilot. If you're dealing with something where a simple mistake could cause lives, significant amount of life, you should know how to speak the language. I mean, if all of a sudden you have an accident, you can't even communicate to the state troopers that show up. I believe you should have to speak English. If that makes me something crazy, feel free to fire away, but I do believe that is a bad hill for the liberals to die on. It's kind of like the same thing with, biological males in women's sports. Some things are just toxic. That's one of them. Listen, if you believe a truck driver should not have to speak English, in my opinion, just avoid the damn question if that comes up. Because that answer that anybody should be able to drive, whether they speak English or not, that's a toxic answer, and that's not going to help the Democrat Party. You passed. You could have fooled me. I don't know what you mean by that, Pizuzu. So you shouldn't be arrested for not speaking English. I didn't say be arrested. In fact, if you're driving a personal vehicle, let's say you came over and visited from Mexico or Saudi Arabia or wherever the hell you're from, you rented a car or you rented a scooter or something like that, I'm okay with a personal vehicle. But something that got tens of thousands of pounds of heavy, merchandise, or if you hit something, you might be unstoppable for a mile or two. The damage you could do, maybe carrying hazmat. No, you should have to speak English for that. You should absolutely have to be able to speak English to do that. That's what I'm saying. And I state this because I drove in a foreign country, but the language was still English, but they didn't give me any kind of language test. But like I said, I could not have gotten a license to drive a semi truck. They would not have given me that as a visitor. Confederate General Albert Pike and a reconciliation monument honoring the Confederacy will be erected in the DMV area. I think that's insane for Trump. To me, I never was a fan of Trump trolling. And I know my beloved MAGA enjoyed this type of shit. And I want to get into something. By the way, tap the damn screen. Get us on up to about 85,000. Thank you folks that are tapping the screen. There's been a lot of support there on TikTok. Tap the screen. Get us on up to about, we should be close to about 90 where you guys are tapping. Thank you for tapping the screen. If you enjoy uncensored dialogue from all sides of the aisle, we don't block, ban, or censor anyone. We remain MAGA friendly in its entirety. Been that way since day one, about 4 years now. So you get to speak on the program no matter what your political affiliation is. Nobody blocks, bans, or censors you here. As you see, you can be critical of anybody on this program, including the host. I'll challenge your opinions, but I do believe in free speech. So if you like that, follow the program if you're watching on TikTok or Instagram right now. And if you're watching on YouTube, give your guy a sub. It helps out. And by the way, follow Tim Liberals on Facebook. I only need about a dozen of you more. So what I want to talk about, though, is erecting a Confederate monument in D.C. Thank you, Will G, for pointing that out. The MAGA side of the aisle loves Trump's trolling, but they are definitively sure he is not racist. To me, trolling racism opens you up to being called a racist. There's absolutely no reason in hell why someone would be erecting a Confederate monument in 2025, 200 and almost 50 years after the country was founded. Why would that be being put up? Other than to literally say fuck the liberals and fuck how black people feel. That's all. I'm just going to put it to you as clear as day. That is almost literally walking up to the black community and smacking them in the face. You know damn well the black community overwhelmingly has a problem with this. That Confederate monument they erect will be a beacon of controversy until it's taken down. I don't care if it stays there for 2 days or 20 years. It will be a beacon of controversy from this point on. Why would you do that? While trying to make it clear you're not a racist, you've done more for black people than anybody since Abraham Lincoln. You think Abraham Lincoln, after fighting the Confederates, would have put a monument up in the nation's capital? I just want to point this out for my MAGA side, who says that Trump loves everybody. He's challenging the effort to defend him. And I see in the comments, it's our history, period, end of story. If we forget about history, we would. Well, if you want to say what's our history, then why the hell is he critical of the Smithsonian for talking about slavery? There is no way to make this make sense. There is absolutely no way to make it make sense at this point. If he's going to suggest that the Smithsonian is wrong for talking about slavery and that Biden was wrong for creating the Junth holiday, then that kind of blows out the water the notion of, well, we're talking about history. Now, you seem to be okay with history as long as it's partial. You don't seem to be favorable to some types of history.
Trump says he has instructed his lawyers to scour through America's museums to rid them of exhibits he considers woke, specifically citing exhibits on slavery. President Trump targeted the Smithsonian museums, saying they are, quote, out of control, where everything discussed is how horrible our country is, how bad slavery was, and how unaccomplished the downtrodden have been. Back in March, the president signed...
Now, how could you put up the Confederate monument while talking about you shouldn't focus on slavery? They were happening at the same time. The Confederates are obviously pro-slavery. I'm not even going to have the argument of what the Civil War was about. I know my beloved MAGA side don't think it was about slavery. I'm not even going to, but we know the Confederates wanted slavery to continue. We don't need to have an argument about what the Civil War was for. We know they wanted slavery to continue. So you're erecting monuments in tribute to people who wanted to continue to maintain people in bondage, and then putting that in the nation's capital. I need to talk to MAGA. I need to get a MAGA view on it because I want to hear how this is good for America. I do want to hear somebody explain to me how this is good for America, because I believe those monuments will be a symbol of controversy. Certainly will be a symbol of people suggesting that Trump is a racist until it's taken down. Until it's taken down. I don't think that'll ever go away. You couldn't do anything that is more inflammatory to the claim that he's racist than that. And to do it right after talking about, we need to stop talking about slavery. I need somebody to explain that to me. Make that make sense. I love Gangsta Grandma, but my tinnitus, the little ringing in the ear, is acting up. She needs to take back away from the speaker a tad. Will G, thank you for the support. Another Gangsta Grandma fan there, by the way. And he continues on by saying Trump has only done performative bullshit to black people for the rocket raccoons to be mesmerized. Black maggots keep downing Lyndon B. Johnson for the Civil Rights Act and saying getting black votes for 200 years. Yeah, like I said, I don't understand why he's doing this. I do not understand the purpose of erecting a Confederate statue in 2025. I just don't understand. And then, like I said, while you're complaining about discussing slavery, imagine if Trump did say it exactly what Lyndon B. Johnson said, the black maggots would be dancing in the streets. Yeah, they would favor it if he said the same thing. I do agree with that. Going back to the box, I think Grandma had a few tonight. Grandma was passionate. Blacks are their own problem, says Greg. Okay, perhaps. I'm not going to pretend like crime and assaults and things like that in the black community or anything other than black people. I mean, there's a lot of blacks that commit crimes against each other, but that ain't got nothing to do with erecting a statue. I don't know why he would do that. Jason is right, and I did not hear anything racist from the content creator. Thank you. Appreciate that. Putting up them slave masters, you still don't get it. They stay 5 steps ahead of us. We just can't trust them. Come on, don't let his slick words pass you. Wow. You do know, no matter what flag they were carrying, they all were Americans. They were seeking to break America in half. They were not Americans. The Confederates were seeking to secede from America. They were not going to call the new territory America. He said no matter what flag they're carrying, they're all Americans. Okay. All right. Anyway, let me go back to the box. Certainly they were not going to secede from America and then call themselves American. I think that's what you're trying to say. Continuing on, Adencal, welcome to the program. Confederate statue, I'm just hearing this. I didn't know that. A Confederate statue in D.C. Dencal, what say you?
Just going along the same lines as we've been saying the same thing, but we keep getting this pushback about him not being racist. It doesn't make sense that we can point out all of these things about him, and they just keep saying no matter what we say or do. They keep saying like it's us that's like. Somebody getting on here saying, well, we're all just American is crazy word.
What about comparing this to which one you think seems to be more racist? Maybe putting a Confederate statue in DC or saying vote for me or you ain't black. Because that's what they were bringing up. That Biden said vote for me or you ain't black and said that was clearly racist. But erecting a statue of a Confederate in DC is not. I don't even know how to respond to that.
Look, they can say all they want to. They're gonna make up rationales to try to make these things seem equivalent. They are not. You look at the actions of these two people. You look at the actions. You look at who he decided to include in his government. You look at who he decided to put into positions of power to try to help equalize, the government and give representation to a minority. Then you look at the other side, and he just literally came in and kicked out all of the black people. He just literally came in and said everybody basically that was black that was in a high position was somehow a DEI and that they did not deserve their position.
Well, are we not? Is it perhaps we're not seeing a big picture? Because J.C. Jackson in the comments says President Trump has vision, and many people lack vision. They only have opinions. Is he on to something? They always say he's playing chess, and we're all playing checkers. Is there some type of master plan in what he's doing that maybe we don't see or understand?
If erasing our history from the history books, if now moving our history out of museums, erecting statues of people who didn't believe me or you even existed in this country unless we were subservient, I don't know. I can't have that foresight. Maybe that person can tell us what that foresight is and let it, instead of them expecting us to just believe somehow this is going to be beneficial to us.
Yeah, and I see somebody in the comments. Poba says if he is playing chess, I guarantee you there are no black pieces on the board. God damn. Oh man. Oh my God.
It's like gaslighting at its finest. It's like gaslighting. They telling us that actually he's doing something for us. We just can't see it.
Yeah. If there is one enemy, one common enemy to the African American community, it is the Confederates. The African American community has been complaining about honoring the Confederacy since day one. So for him to put that on DC is a really large fuck you to the African American community. I don't think there's any way to spin that. I'm willing to give a man credit when I can see credit, but I don't see any legitimate reason to do this. This is just like when I talk about how it's toxic to talk about defending transgender males playing female sports. This is toxic. For him to do that, and it doesn't help America out at all, doesn't further the narrative, doesn't cheapen groceries, doesn't do anything to help America out at all. This is toxic. This is divisive as hell for Trump to do this. I don't see any other reason other than I know it's divisive and fuck them, I'm going to do it anyway. That's all I see to this.
That's it. Yeah. If we see the country growing and saying, hey, maybe we shouldn't be paying homage to these people who tried to destroy this country and who tried to maintain this, this way of living that was horrible towards one people. And then they say, well, no, we just gonna keep on doing it. We just gonna keep on putting it in their face. Not saying that somebody at their home couldn't celebrate the Confederacy that in the privacy of their home or whatever, but to put it in a government space that's supposed to represent everybody is just insane.
Yeah, I don't see.
And for people who it's not aimed at to say, oh, well, you guys are just being emotional. Really, it's about maintaining and making sure we don't forget.
Yeah. Well, even for people who are saying that, it's about history and things like that, then they have to explain then why is he talking about let's stop focusing on slavery? Because if you're going to talk about history, he clearly is favorable to one sect of history and not to the other one. So it is not a case of preserving history because he wants the slavery part to be silenced. So that doesn't even necessarily resonate at this point. He's favorable to the Confederates and he's not to the history of slavery.
Right. And the people on this live and obviously the majority of MAGA don't see the irony in that. For somehow it's that somewhere in their mind is blocked out that he's saying that the museums concentrate too much on slavery
and then put the slave owners right there in our face. Like they can't even comprehend how we got a problem with that. They wanted they could literally tell us we just need to stop talking about what happened to you guys, and then everything will get better. While at the same time saying we need to remember that the slave owners and the people who killed tens of thousands or millions of other what they call fellow Americans.
How about this though? Alter Ego asked a question. He says, "Has anyone read about the statue that's in question? Would that make any difference?"
No. No, it wouldn't matter. I don't give a damn who it was.
Yeah.
I don't care who it was. Like I live, I worked and I lived down the street from one of those bases that they're renaming after the country. You know what I'm saying? I thought the country was improving. They said, "Hey, let's get this off of our military bases." Like these people actually tried to kill everybody on these bases at one time. You know what I mean? So they decided to move forward and get these, not remove them from history because there will always be museums. There's always the stuff taught. But why do we have to have it represent us in today's society?
Yeah, I don't get it. In an era where we're trying to allegedly get rid of waste, fraud, and abuse, he's spending a lot of money to bring back the Confederate. I mean, renaming those bases, I forgot how many millions of dollars they said that cost to change the signs on the highway and every damn thing. Now you're going to erect a statue in D.C. I'm assuming that's going to cost a good bit of money. I mean, when we're talking about getting rid of waste, fraud, and abuse, this is spending money on something that does not help anybody out, other than I'm glad they're bringing back the Confederacy to show these Negroes some kind of point or something. I don't know what's the purpose. I mean, that money could go in a host of directions that would be better than spending it on this. I don't, like I said, other than just really basically, trying to say fuck black people. I don't see why he would do this.
Hey, we keep on trying to figure out reasons why he would do all of the things that he's doing instead of just assigning the correct, blame to it. Like there is no excuse for it. There is no master plan behind it that is going to somehow make America better or make black people understand anything. Like it's not.
But are we picking sides or something? Because J.C. Jackson says, where was all this when Biden was outright insulting black people, making us weak with his crumbs off the table? Was Biden doing stuff like this? Putting up Confederate monuments and talking about we need to stop talking about slavery and we need to talk more about the Confederates? I mean, is this something comparable to what Biden was doing?
Right. There's another one of those false equivalencies.
Yeah.
The man literally got up there in that position and assigned the most people of color of anybody in history, minorities, he put them in positions of power where they should be if you want to have equal justice in the country. You can't have the justice system filled with one select group of people passing judgment on other people's not understanding their traditions, their history, anything. Like it's just not right. So Biden gets up there. He puts all of these people in positions. I mean, it's still just a very minute amount of people, but to put people in places that they've never been, to inspire younger generations of people to aspire to those positions, those types of things live on throughout history. And Trump goes in there and just gets rid of every damn body who's in those positions. Yeah. And then they try to tell us it's us that got it fucked up.
Yeah, that's what they're telling us. I don't know. I can't, I think that the majority of people that I've seen state that Biden is racist or doesn't like black people. Most of the people saying that are not black themselves. Most of the people that are now on Trump's side, I cannot tell you how many women that are white that I see calling them racist, but the African American community, I got to talk to some black MAGA though, because I want to hear. Now, I had one guy on a little bit earlier that voted for Trump that was African American, and even he stated, while he wasn't certain he thought Trump was a racist, he could understand absolutely why this would look racist to someone. So I definitely want to hear from some black MAGA on how they feel about him honoring the Confederates in D.C. now. That's a step up. I mean, we don't normally have Confederate monuments in the North. So for him, I mean, because I don't know are there any Union statues down South? So for him to put one on the North, I mean, it almost looks like he said he wished to do it at a one. I don't know. So why would you put one in the North?
To show that he can, and to show how he feels about these things, man. I can't, for the life of me, I can't fathom like why somebody will be championing that cause in today's climate of the division in this country. Like, why would you, in the middle of all of this, say the good thing to do with our time and our money and our resources is to dedicate tens of millions of dollars to change these names of these bases and to reinstate statues or put up a new statue in this culture? Like, I don't like, that's just reinforcing his base once again, and it's letting us know that that's how he feels. Because we know that if he wasn't racist, he wouldn't allow this stuff to happen.
I'm trying to maintain my ability to see both sides, Cal, but this one right here, I don't have there's no justification for this. And I would be curious to see, once this monument is erected, people are going to show up to D.C. when this is honored. Look at the people that are standing there, because they're going to be showing up. You're going to get a huge turnout putting a Confederate in Washington, D.C. Look at the people that turn up there. I'm looking for some black MAGA in that crowd. I want to see some black.
I don't know how big that crowd is going to be.
I think it'll be big. I think it'll be real big. I think it'll be big.
I think like when you say big, like in proportion to what? Like it's not going to be like the walk on the monument. Like, it's not going to be.
Oh no, not like that. But it could be a few thousand people. I mean, you're talking about Trump. If Trump calls a meeting, people and people can come and it's free. Thousands of people. I mean, certainly this is historic. Putting a Confederate monument up in 2025 and then doing it in D.C. as well. There's a whole lot of people who voted for Trump for stuff like this. So I could see people driving in from other parts of the country to watch this being honored. Just like when Nikki Haley took one down, people wanted to see it. I think they did one in Baltimore. They had to do it in the cover of darkness because they didn't want it to be, to become violent. So they took them down in secrecy. Trump is probably going to make a big deal on this. I mean, you could sell little tiny figurines of the guy. I mean, he could make a bunch of money off of this.
Yeah, I guess so. Especially because they're gonna have like 20,000 troops and stuff. They're gonna feel emboldened. Yeah. I kind of changed my perspective. Yeah, they're gonna come.
I mean, a lot of people vote. This is they say this is what we voted for. I'm sure there will be people in the crowd seeing that statue being put up and the Confederate flags. I mean, those flags are gonna be all in that audience. I'm sure there are people who will make it clear this is what we voted for. Cal, it ain't what I voted for, but I appreciate you coming on, man.
Yeah, that's gonna be ugly, man, with a whole bunch of Confederate flags and people
in a predominantly black city too. Can I get the middle finger or what? In a predominantly black city. Jesus Christ. Cal, thank you for coming through. All right. God. If that doesn't have fuck you written all over it, I don't know what does. Mr. Will G says, now in defense of these not shit maggots, these Confederate statues were already up and torn down during the BLM riots, but Trump wants to restore them. Okay, so you're saying that this was up already. That changes it a little bit. So he's restoring it. According to you, so you said he's restoring a statue that's been down for a few years. A little bit less, but not much. Not much. I mean, if it's been just like renaming the bases back at the Confederates. I mean, the bases their names had been changed for a couple years and renaming it back. That ain't not much. That ain't gonna make much of a difference. I mean, it is, and certainly not what the problem is. This stuff follows him being against the Smithsonian talking about slavery and the Juneteenth holiday. That's, to me, that's where the kicker is, because the defense for what he's doing coming from MAGA is, well, it's just about history. But then when you got the comments of him going against, talking about slavery and against the Juneteenth holiday, it becomes clear. Now he's not open to talking about history. He's open to talking about the Confederate history. So that doesn't even there's, like I said, I could play both sides of any issue. There is no other side to this because of those anti-slavery, anti-Juneteenth comments. There's no other side to this. But I do want to hear some MAGA. Maybe they can help me out. The problem with socialism is eventually socialism has nothing to do with this though. People do have the power to make corrections, but you have to speak up and say something as a people. Not arguing with that. Let me continue on. Tap the screen. It's a lot of love in this program tonight. Wow, 117,000. Get us on up to about 125. It helps out the program, brings in more MAGA. That's what my FYP is. MAGAs are my preferred guests. I don't get as many of them. In the comments, I get plenty, but on the actual show, it's a little bit different. Correction, protests nor riots, because 99% of the protests were peaceful. That is true. That is true. Real quick, Mr. Realistic says, yes, Union monuments exist in the South. Okay. Streets are named as well, such as Union Avenue and in Memphis, Tennessee. All right. So in probably predominantly black cities is where you're going to find that. I don't know if you would name stuff after the Union Army in rural South, probably not, but in black cities, like they name, Dr. King has streets in most black areas. But if you get outside of the black neighborhoods, you start finding very few streets named after Martin Luther King. So I get what you're saying, though. MAGA's IQ is like 56. Damn. You think their IQ is that? Does your guy hate your 14th Amendment too, the one that makes you free? I don't know if Trump's threatened. I don't think Trump's talked about threatening the 14th Amendment. Because the museum tells so much of truth. That's what museums are for. It's historical monuments. Then let us understand our past to understand our future. Yeah. I don't know why the man would be talking about the Smithsonian focuses too much on slavery and just criticizing the hell out of the Juneteenth holiday while renaming bases back at the Confederates and re-erecting Confederate monuments. I don't know how to spin that any way, fashion, or form to make that sound positive. I don't have an answer for that. It looks negative. I'm just going to tell you, it does look negative. And somebody in the comments says racism. I'll leave it at that. It does not look positive. There's no way to spin that. Let me go back to the box. Get out of black neighborhoods. You start finding streets named after pretty flowers and trees. Well, as Freddy Krueger once said, every town has an Elm Street. So we'll leave it at that. You'll find a Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard in predominantly black cities, indicating the factor of a dangerous neighborhood. Chris Rock said that. Anytime you find Martin Luther King name on the street, there's some violence going down. Mr. Realistic, good evening. Welcome to the program. What do you think in regards to this? Let me see. Hopefully it brings them up. We'll give Mr. Realistic, are you there?
Yes, I am. How are you today?
I'm doing good. Now, you've heard about this?
About which part?
About
the...
Well, there's more. Okay, the part about not liking the Smithsonian focusing on slavery, the part about renaming military bases back at the Confederate generals, or now the part about putting a statue back up in D.C. that's a Confederate statue.
Okay, now, first of all, yes, I've heard about all of this. Now, as far as the Smithsonian is concerned, here's what we're not asking. What exactly? I have not seen this. I have never seen that exhibit. I don't know what it actually is. And, is it being properly portrayed? That is more what I want to see. Whether it's woke or not, I don't know exactly how the hell you can make slavery woke. That doesn't make any sense to me.
I think. Let me interrupt you. Let me interrupt you and say this. I think any what to say, story or anything concerning civil rights, LGBTQ, women's rights. I think any topic where we're covering that, that's considered woke. They don't want to discuss that. Anything talking about that stuff is woke.
I'm not certain I agree with that, but I mean, hey, that is a view of it, I suppose.
Yeah.
From my perspective, I want to know that it's being properly portrayed. The American Civil War, I grew up here in the South. I'm surrounded by its battlefields and the graveyards of those men that fought it. Mm-hmm. I have been to a lot of them. Here's a very, here, you can Google it. 600,000 American men died fighting that war.
Okay.
Over 1 million had limbs blown off from cannon fire, amputations, and so forth. The population of America in 1861 was approximately 25 million. If you divide that by 2 to separate men from women, you're talking about roughly 11 million people, or 11 million men. Now, if we exclude all the ages that may or may not have been fighting, you take 1.6 divided by 11, and that's roughly 1 in 5 men that died or lost limbs. It was a horrible event, and it needs remembered. Now, here in Memphis, Tennessee, we had a lot of Confederate statues that were taken down during Biden's era there. And some of them I agree with, like the fellow that found it.
Hey, hold up. Let me interrupt you to say this. Now, when you talked about the death total and things like that, the death total in World War II was nowhere near like the Civil War. But I mean, we lost a lot of people in many other wars. And you don't go around erecting monuments and stuff. I mean, you can remember an event without erecting statues and naming bases after people, can you not?
Well, here again, you've got to look back to the time to where these were named. A lot of these bases, if my understanding is correctly, were named when they were founded in World War II, during that buildup. After we won World War II, you had the whole Southern apologist movement that kind of came in, and there was an effort to essentially rewrite history and soften the Southern secession and make it more palatable, which it's not. The South seceded, cold-blooded. It's in the Articles of Confederation. It was about slavery. It was perceived as they're taking property from us because slaves were property the same as a horse. And they, from their point of view at that time, it was, we're going to get something taken away without compensation. And here's a fact for you. Do you know that not in a single Southern state, Abraham Lincoln was allowed on the ballots?
Wait, wow. So they wouldn't allow you to vote for Abraham Lincoln?
No. And that is why they seceded, is because, and you know what else is something that's funny? It was all Democrats. It was the Democrats.
That's, everybody knows that. Yeah, everybody. But you do acknowledge a party switch took place, right?
Correct.
Okay.
That is absolutely correct.
So why do you think there's so many folks on the right that not only believe that a party switch never took place, they also suggest that the Civil War had nothing to do with slavery?
Because they don't know their history. I mean, how else could it be? Slavery was the crux that sparked the Civil War. And, you know, that whole issue came because there was bad leadership from a few presidents before that. I can't remember names.
I don't know, Mr. Realistic. I don't think it's a matter of not knowing any history. I think there are some folks, when they say the Civil War was not over slavery, I think they're being deliberate on that. I think they know, but want to kind of change history, so they're pushing this other narrative. Like PragerU, and, you know, when you got folks like the state of Florida under DeSantis talking about, you know, how slavery was beneficial and things like that, that's not due to ignorance. That's deliberate.
Well, Beneficial is, I mean, that's a reach right there.
Well, he did say people learn good traits during slavery. That's what they were trying to teach people, that people learn good traits during slavery.
You're not being serious. He didn't say that.
Yeah, I mean, it was a big news story, Tim. I'll see what I can find out, but I'll see what I can play rather. But yeah, that came out. That did come out. They were talking about how slavery was beneficial during the time.
No, well, I mean, from a financial standpoint, and actually,
No, I mean to the slave. To the slave, it was beneficial.
no, well, and I guess that they were fed. I mean, that is a benefit, but that would be the only benefit. Yeah, no, beneficial. Let's be honest. No, that there was nothing beneficial for those poor souls caught in that. And Thomas Sowell has written. If you listen to a book of his called Black Liberals and White Rednecks or something like that.
Okay.
Black Rednecks and White Liberals. He talks about slavery and all that kind of stuff. And if you haven't listened to that book or read it, by all means, do so in some spare time. It is an excellent book because he talks a lot about slavery, and a lot of the stuff that he talks about definitely isn't taught, such as if you were lucky enough to be sent to the southern U.S. during the slave trade, you were lucky because the vast majority were sent to the Arab lands and they died. There was no chance of living if you were sent to the Arab side. Now, that comes from a black economist, one of your most noted people.
You're going in. Your audio's going in and out. But I will tell you this real quick, along the lines of "give me liberty or give me death." There are some people, as opposed to being in slavery, would prefer to be killed. I mean, if those are my two choices, you can be a slave for me forever, or you can go to the Arab side and get executed. There are people who would probably choose to be, just like the slave ships, they had to have nets off the side because people were jumping into the ocean to their deaths. I mean, some people would rather just simply perish than to be a slave for the rest of their life.
Okay, here is a fact. There is a misconception that people, and I'm sure some did jump to their deaths, but the slave traders that were going to the Arab world, if they saw an English ship approaching them, they would throw the chained slaves over the side because it was English law that if they caught a slave trading ship, they executed the crew.
Well, fact is, once you were on a slave ship, there was no good outcome for you, no matter where you were headed. No matter where you were going, the people were going to treat you really bad when you get there. There was we're just talking about bad versus terrible. But the outcome was going to be bad no matter where that ship stopped.
I agree with you 100% on that. And those poor souls, imagine that. That's heartbreaking.
So, all right. Well, I'll go ahead and move it on, Mr. Realistic, but I do appreciate you coming through as always. Thank you.
Hey, by the way, before I leave,
sure,
make sure everybody, what say you, sir? You have a great day.
You too. Thank you. That is the slogan here. Tap the screen. Get us on up to 165,000. Definitely some folks tapping the screen, showing the program some love. Follow if you happen to be watching on Instagram or TikTok. Give your boy a sub if you're watching on YouTube. This is indeed Uncensored Dialogue. I would like to get a MAGA viewer on this topic. I don't know if I'm going to be lucky tonight. The other night, and I've been under the weather, so yesterday I was not on. We generally on most weeknights. So if you enjoy this type of dialogue, feel free to subscribe or follow depending on what platform you're watching. But I was under the weather the other night. But the night before, I had a lot of MAGA come on. I was happy to hear that. A lot of MAGA came through. This topic, probably a little bit more difficult for MAGA to defend. So I may have some MAGA that are just deliberately avoiding the box this time. So it is what it is. But fact check, slave owners were compensated with reparations for property loss. Yeah, that is insane. That we don't want to give reparations to the descendants of slaves, but the people who lost their slaves, their property, they actually got, something in my opinion, with President Trump, here's what he stated. Now, President Trump's actual quote is, "The Smithsonian is out of control, where everything discussed is how horrible our country is, how bad slavery was, and how unaccomplished the downtrodden have been. Nothing about success, nothing about brightness, nothing about the future." Now, in my opinion, I don't think we discuss slavery enough. I'm just going to tell you, I hear him suggesting they focus on it too much. I mean, everything from the grapes. I mean, they had what they call breeding factories or whatever the case may be. There was a couple states that specialized in breeding new slaves. Once the Atlantic slave trade became outlawed, they had to create more slaves, so they forced breeding. All of that's rape. All of that's rape. Because the woman and the man that's participating, neither one of them have the right to say no. We don't discuss that in this country. There's a whole lot of dark aspects of slavery that never get discussed. I had somebody argue with me, I think it was in the inbox, direct message telling me, well, you liberals are for desecrating graves and desecrating monuments, talking about the Confederate monuments. And I told them, desecrating graves and monuments is kind of the American way. I mean, do you realize how many grave sites of slaves were either paved over, the cemeteries were torn down? We've been desecrating cemeteries since day one, not to mention the Native Americans. Their grave sites were just destroyed in the name of capitalism. So I don't know, when you talk about a liberal desecrating monuments and statues today, that's kind of what the American way has been. I mean, they've been tearing down cemeteries that were dedicated to slaves from day one. So he stopped responding when I said that. But I mean, that's kind of what we've been doing. I mean, desecrating graves and statues became a different issue when it became Confederate statues. Now all of a sudden you're taking down the wrong ones, I guess. I don't know. Doesn't mean it's the American way. Yeah, it does. If you've been doing something since the very day you were founded, from 1776 on out, we've been desecrating. I mean, they found, like, even the Black Wall Street shit. Turns out a lot of those graves were under, industrial buildings and shit like that. They knew that stuff was there. They knew they were, putting streets and highways right over grave sites. That ain't nothing new. Yeah, it was. It has been the American way. I mean, you can trace literally paving over cemeteries and grave sites well into the 1900s, 1960s, 1970s. Yeah, it is the American way. The overwhelming majority of U.S. history, we've been doing that. That's been happening. So what do you mean it ain't the American way? Very tiny, tiny portion of our history have we not been doing that. Desecrating cemeteries and desecrating grave sites. Been doing that the whole time. Going over to other countries, taking mummies and jewelry in the pyramids. Yeah. Desecrating grave sites in this country alone has been happening since day one. Hypocrisy is a feature of right-wing domination. Damn. I'm your average Joe says that. Where does it say in the Bible, God feed the poor people? Just the mere fact that you would even ask that. I picture some poor guy with his hand out looking like a cup asking you for something to eat and you making that statement to him. Where does it say in the Bible, God feed the body? That's cruel. Damn, that's cruel. God damn. Talk about no love. Anyway, looking in the comments, why he all on your wall? Where's your family? What are you talking about? I don't know what you're asking that question for. This is a political show. It's not a family show. False. All human remains are removed and moved before any construction happens. That is flat out false. That is 100% false. In fact, you can go on YouTube. There were all kinds of documentaries on. There was one guy down in, I think, North Carolina somewhere who purchased property that was part of a former plantation. And they started marking grave sites that were of slaves that were buried on their property that were unmarked. And they had sonar equipment and stuff like that. He did it out of his own pocket. He was talking about how much money it's cost. But he got permission from the city. They're finding grave sites all over the damn place. Under highways. And what do you mean they removed all human remains before construction happened? You tell me you don't really believe that. Tell me you listen, if I purchase property and I want to build a nice complex, some type of, industrial building or something, I can make a ton of money off of it. And ain't nobody requiring I do that because there's a lot of work to that. You got to notify people. There's special ways you got to get in archaeologists and shit. You're not going to do that if you don't have to. Not removing remains. I would just simply tell you to Google, remains found, slave remains found on the highway. I guarantee you a ton of shit would pop up. How do you think that you really believe they were moving it, huh? Anyway, going back to the box, continuing on with Miss Mo Betta. Good evening, Mr. Mo Betta. Welcome to the program. How you join the live? You come on over to Instagram or TikTok, the Handsome Liberal across all platforms. YouTube doesn't allow me to take callers, so come on over to Instagram or TikTok. We'll bring you right up. Miss Mo Betta, good evening.
Hey, Tim. I didn't even know I requested up, but I'm glad I did.
Appreciate you coming through.
I was moving, just coming in from work, so I might have hit it by accident. I was just listening, like, what did I miss? But now I see what's happening. With him it's just a whole disregard of Black history, that he's really trying to whitewash America. He's trying to remove the names of fallen soldiers. He's going inside the Smithsonian, trying to erase those, talking about us too woke. The thing is, nobody ever asked him to explain what he means by this stuff.
What
does being too woke mean? You understand what I'm saying?
I get the notion of questioning what does too woke mean, but when you start out by talking about you don't favor having a Juneteenth holiday, you don't like the Smithsonian talking about slavery, and then you're renaming bases after Confederate soldiers, and now you're going to re-erect a Confederate monument in D.C. Do you really need to ask any questions on what he's doing or why he's doing that?
Exactly. And then you had the blagger talking about, y'all still on a plantation and bowing to a master. Make it make sense.
I'm dying to hear from Black MAGA on this. I talk to Black MAGA almost every day. I haven't talked to any Black MAGA on this.
They scared to come to your show. I don't know if because they know your panel or your chat will eat their asses up, but they don't want you to come to their show. Then I be watching the shows when you be on there, and I was like, you be going at it with them. You definitely do, because some shit that come out of their mouth, like, who raised these motherfuckers?
Well, I enjoy talking to Black MAGA, but you are right. Very few of them come to my shows, but I do. If I'm not on my own platform, I'm in a platform that involves MAGA, usually Black MAGA. But I'm very curious to see how they feel about this, because there's got to be some sort of way we can spin this. I don't know what it is, and I'm usually able to see both sides. Because of the anti-slavery, anti-Juneteenth comments, I don't know how to make this sound positive, even if you put a gun in my head. So I want to hear from MAGA on this.
There ain't no fluffing on this one, Tim. No. You can't fluff on this one because it's right in your face. And for anybody to try to spin that, it's just really crazy. You know what I mean? Yeah, it's right here in your face.
Yeah, he really has kind of shut the door on this one for. I mean, there's been things where we can say, no, he didn't mean that, he meant this or that, but, this is a succession of multiple comments. He's obviously against Juneteenth, he's obviously against talking about slavery, and he's for promoting and discussing the Confederate flag. And by the way, with all of the folks that have been seen on highways and marching down streets preaching hate while wearing the actual Confederate flag on their uniforms and clothes and shoulders, this just looks bad. Because he don't speak out about any of that.
It is bad, Tim. It don't just look bad, it is bad. And I believe he's trying to cause civil unrest so he can invoke martial law. So when it's time for those midterm elections to come, he'll have them in place already. So he has a hidden agenda because that's how he operates. He's trying to really cause civil unrest. I told you that a long time ago. That's what he wants. He wants civil unrest. So again, when those midterms, you see what they're holding senators hostage and all kinds of stuff because they're trying to cheat their way into having Trump still stay in power. They want him to stay in power, so they're doing everything they can right now to cheat.
Well, I get a lot of folks that are not agreeing with this conversation at all. One of my viewers is saying,
of course they're not.
One of my viewers is saying the caller is a typical ignorant liberal. Someone else is saying liars and loser channel. You know, I don't get it. Part of history, get over yourselves. Now, obviously, slavery is a part of history too, and Trump doesn't want you discussing that, so I don't know where that's coming from. But I mean,
but see, that's the thing, Tim. When it comes to talking about slavery, they're the beneficiaries of the hard work and blood, sweat, and tears that went into slavery. So I'm really not looking for them to agree on anything that I have to say about slavery. But let me tell y'all something. It's not gonna go away. He might try to take it out of Smithsonian temporarily or whatever. Are y'all embarrassed by what y'all ancestors did for y'all to be where you are? So listen, we're not gonna disregard none of that. I was around. I was around when my great grandmother was telling the stories about how they was dragging her off toilets and shit like that. That stuff is not going away. I don't give a fuck how they put it. And you can call me ignorant if you want to. That don't change the truth.
So what ultimately happens? Is it going to become a case of Black history is passed down by word of mouth? I mean, if you start federally blocking and banning it, you got to assume the red states are going to follow suit with what he's doing. So, because you hear him down in Florida talking about woke and things in textbooks. So, if they make it so that slavery becomes kind of a distant subject, where it might be one of those kind of deals where you got to go to a library or on the internet and look it up because it's not discussed in schools.
The information is still there. You know what I'm saying? We have a lot more channels now that you can look this stuff up. You know what I'm saying? Listen, I know pretty much the majority of the white folks don't want to hear about slavery anyway because a lot of them were their ancestors.
It's interesting. You know, it's interesting you would say that because the moment you said that, one of my viewers said, "Good." Because we're sick of hearing about it. So. The viewer stated we're sick of hearing about slavery.
Well, a lot of them are actually just now learning it, Tim, because they've been living their lives so much to think that they were superior and that none of this stuff happened. That their family, some of y'all families got ugly, dark past. That they violated Black folks. Again, we might be related to some of them. You know why? Because their great grandfather was going inside of them slave quarters and raping the women. So we might be related while they keep talking about shit like that. So if they tell them to find something, another comment, find something else to talk about.
Well, somebody just says, YouTube Odyssey. I'm going to listen. We get some wild comments. I'm just going to give you this one.
Of course. You know I'm ready.
Yeah, this one is crazy. Says, maybe if Blacks learned to read and write, they could actually create history. Now, obviously, I'm reading this comment, so at least one can read. But he says, maybe if Blacks learned to read and write, they could create a history.
We would have had a better history if the white people didn't beat us for learning to read and write.
And by the way, history doesn't. History is history. It doesn't matter if you can read or write. You existed. Yeah, history is history. It has nothing to do with reading and writing.
But listen, we weren't allowed to go to schools. We had to fight for that. We weren't allowed to read. If you got caught reading any kind of books or any kind of literature, you were beat, you were hung, you did all kind of stuff. So yeah, y'all don't want to hear about that stuff because y'all ancestors were some nasty, vile, evil ass people. Disgusting. Y'all was raping not just the women, the men too.
That's an interesting point you brought up because when he said Blacks could have their own history if they learn to read and write. You raised a great point. The reason they can't read and write, they had a lot to do with stopping that as well. I don't know. This stuff gets to be wild, but
it does get wild, and that's why a lot of our ancestors dealt with, how should I put this? They took a lot of stuff from the elements, like we could smell the rain coming and different things like that. They would do it in song. Because the only thing that the white slave masters wanted us to do was to read their Bible. The Bible that was picked apart. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
I still to this day, and I know I got a lot of religious folks in the audience. I grew up religious as well, but I'm not as much anymore. But I still to this day don't understand why once African Americans gained freedom that they didn't drop the religion. And I ask that simply put is because, okay, you're brought to a new country and the people obviously don't have your best interest at heart. They're doing everything bad that they can do to you, from enslaving you to actually murdering people. Why would you accept their religion as your own? I mean, you know they don't have your best interest at
Right.
heart.
Get rid of that religion. Get rid of that.
Yeah, I don't understand why they kept
I
it.
see you, Trey, in the comments. I see you that we invented most of the stuff we got going on here. This is why we will not allow them to try to erase what we got going on. And slavery is a part of that. Slavery is a part of that. Again, you have to go back to the root of things in order to see where you are now. If you don't know where you came from, you'll never know where you're going.
Yeah, many folks are even now suggesting that based on the region and the people that lived in the region, there's no way that the God, or better yet, the Jesus we see could have looked like that. You know, a blue-haired white guy. I mean, so it's like, you know, that religion did not. It wasn't honest. It didn't have your best interest. I don't understand why, because we started naming each other Afrocentric names in the 70s and 80s. You know, the LaQuishas and all of that stuff. People started wearing African medallions, and I mean, even some people were talking about returning to Africa. There was a big separation once, right after the Civil Rights Act. I don't know why they kept the religion. I just don't understand that.
I don't understand. I don't understand either. But again, when you're stripped of your native language and you're stripped of education and different things like that, they really had nothing else to go on. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And then once they so-called ended slavery and let you out, you're running around like a banshee because you don't really know any better.
Yeah,
you understand what I'm saying? So it's crazy. It's like
the ignorance of black folks absolutely played a part. I mean, if you keep people uneducated, there's a lot of power to be had in that. I mean, and there were you got generations of ignorant people.
You still have a lot of people in the South, more so in the southern regions, that can barely read now. Because down in the South, it's a lot different than here in the North. You know what I'm saying? Down in the South, they still saying yes, sir, no, sir. Up here in New York, be like, what the fuck is you talking about?
I don't see, but I like that. My
what
dad.
What you talking about?
Yeah, I like that. My dad, straight out of Vietnam, he taught us as kids, all adults, we address with yes, sir, and yes, ma'am. No, sir, no, ma'am. I don't see anything wrong with that.
No, that's just out of respect.
Yeah.
If it wasn't yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, or sir, for us, it's either auntie or uncle. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So it was a respect thing.
Yeah, I don't see any problem with respect.
When it came to the people, our people being enslaved and everything, so the Bible says to turn the other cheek. You know what I'm saying? So they constantly waiting on God. And we turn the other cheek. You turn your cheek, they beating him in the back.
Damn.
It's just so crazy. You know what I'm saying? The scars run too deep to forget about it.
But see, that's why
I won't let that happen on my watch. I'm sorry.
And that's why I keep appearing baffled that they kept the religion, because I would look at, I look at folks from that era and I'm like, you mean they reading from this book, holding up the Bible? I'm holding up the Bible and thinking they're reading from this same book and they're thinking what they're doing to these people is okay. If you can read from the Bible, do what you're doing to these folks, everything from killing to enslaving to raping every day, and you think that you get to go into the kingdom of heaven after all that, I'm like, why would you want to follow him into the kingdom of heaven? Somebody can't be doing something right here. You actually are reading the same book as him, and y'all expect to end up in the same place together. You really want to go with him? That doesn't make any sense.
Something is not adding up there.
Yeah.
No, that's the truth. It's not adding up. They beat and raped and unalived and did everything against what Christ was for, and still call themselves Christian. Those are the people you watch out for.
All right, I'll leave it at that, Miss Mobetta. Appreciate you coming in. Thank you.
Thank you. Hey, Mike, y'all tap the screen. Let's get them up to 200,000.
That's saying a lot. We don't normally get that high. Tonight, there's been a lot of love for the program.
You asked 187. You at 187 right now. That's doable.
Speaking of a 187, I gotta go. Appreciate it, Miss Mo Better.
Okay.
All right, he is not making it to heaven. Believe that. Yeah, are you talking about Trump? But no, I am going to say that based on what we're taught in regards to how you live your life and how you can get into heaven or not. You gotta assume that most of the folks that were fighting on behalf of the Confederate South, they should all be in hell, right? I mean, most of them should be in hell. Would they not? I mean, they always say, well, as long as you repented before you left well, they died fighting on behalf of this stuff. So they literally went to their graves still fighting on behalf of maintaining the Confederacy, maintaining the way they were mistreating people. So I'm just simply saying, if you believe that there is a heaven and a hell, and in the ways we were taught and how you get to either one, you would have to assume that most of the folks from the South of that era are in hell. Otherwise, I'm going to put emphasis on this. Otherwise, I don't want to hear shit about what I'm doing as a suggestion of why I'm not getting in heaven. If they can get in heaven doing all of that, damn it, I don't want to hear anybody tell me I can't get in. I ain't done nowhere. It doesn't even come close. So, I just want to say, I don't understand how you could be reading from the same Bible that we read from today and somehow, some way walk around thinking that it was okay to do all of that stuff, which is why I strongly believe that a lot of folks in America throughout history stating that they were Christians and things like that never were. They were using it more for more for power and control than actually truly trying to honor some form of a deity. The activities are just terrible. Listen, in modern times, right now as we speak, I don't believe the way we're doing immigrants. I don't believe the book would favor that. I get that there are laws in this country. If you enter the country illegally, you're breaking the law, but not the way we're doing it. I don't buy that somebody entered the country as a baby with their mom 30 years ago, and you're going to send them to a country where they don't even speak the language and know nothing about the customs, maybe have no relatives. I can't see any deity saying that that's a good thing to do in defense of your laws. I think we're going way beyond that. Way beyond that. If somebody's came in the country, you catch them running across the Rio Grande or something, that's different. But grabbing somebody that's been here for 30 or 40 years, brought over as a child and don't even know anything about where you're sending them back, and you're like, no mercy, must go back. It's hard to imagine that any Christ-like figure would not have some form of sympathy somewhere, somehow, and make a way for them to stay. That's just my opinion. Tim, they tried to remove parts of the Constitution off of the White House, rewriting history, says Sean Herbert. Look, I don't know what Trump has in store for this country, but it's different than anybody else. It's different in a lot of ways than any president we've had. And I guess, he's only been in office for a little bit more than 1/8 of his term. A little bit more than 1/8. He has a lot more presidenting to do, for lack of a better term. Anyway, looking at the comments, they have zero compassion for others. Christ taught compassion. That's the point I'm making. I don't think anybody, whether we're talking about, I don't think there's compassion in any level. To me, I believe in self-reliance and pulling yourself up by your bootstraps. There is zero compassion to that. I found a way, you found one too. I've said that before on the show, is that it comes across as a don't ask me for shit mentality. Figure it out. So yeah, I agree with I agree with the lack of compassion. Trump is going hard nonstop. We haven't seen the bulk of what's coming. I do believe that. So it seems he's not the typical politician. Wow. That's true, Creed. I'll give you, I like the way you're wording that. I do believe that he is both. I believe he's not the typical politician until it's time to hold him accountable for something he done wrong, where you can blame it on the fact that other typical politicians have done it. If he does something that we favor that no other politician has done, see, he's not the typical politician. But when he fucks up and does something that he's being held accountable for, well, Biden or Obama did the same thing. So it's kind of playing it when you want to use it and then tossing it away when it's in your benefit. That's because they have been fake forever and a day, says Billy Wow. Yikes. Real quick in the comments, tap the screen. We'll go to the next caller shortly here. Okay, hold on. You are acting. Okay, hold on. All right. Okay, hold on. You are acting. The average person owned slaves. Only the rich owned them. Literally, it was less than 2% of Southerners owned slaves. That's true. It was every. No, I didn't say everybody owned slaves, but the mistreatment of African Americans was something that they all supported. There was no huge, we need to stop doing this movement in the South. There were some abolitionists, but I mean, there's a reason why it went on for 100 plus years, or some would say 400 years. But the fact is, while the overwhelming majority of whites did not own slaves, you still benefited from all of the mistreatment, such as anything you did of violence to a black person, there was no accountability for it whatsoever. Zero. So let's say, for instance, a black guy is, you know, riding his master through town. He's in the front with the reins, and the master sitting in the back in the carriage, runs over somebody's foot or decides to spit. Alexa, stop. Or decides to spit or something like that, and it happens to go on a white person or something like that. White person can reach up and punch the shit out of the guy, drag him off the horse, beat the hell out of him. There's no accountability. You don't need to be a slave owner to get away with that. I mean, there's all kinds of other stuff you could do. Grapes, mistreatment, all of that was okay. So there is a lot more to it, but I agree that most did not own slaves. And of course, all this stuff continued throughout the Jim Crow era. There was no accountability. You could get away with doing anything. As I said, I'm sure grapes were happening big time. That's just free sex. It's not like she can say no. It's not like she got anybody to report it to. You can only imagine how much that was happening and how much our historians have fought to keep that out of history. That's why I say when Trump says we talk about slavery too much, there's a whole lot we haven't discussed. But the amount of grapes the amount of grapes throughout that period has had to be ridiculous. Somebody says fuck Donald Trump forever. Damn. Explicit. That's only because for some reason you are still mad you lost the war. Oh, you guys are talking to each other. All right, continuing on. Jim Crow was individuals. There was none of that in the North. What do you mean Jim Crow was individuals? No, Jim Crow was law. They had laws down south, like if you approach an intersection at the same time as a white man, by law, you have to let him go first. There was some really, really petty laws. You guys, same side of the sidewalk, you got to get out of his way. I mean, it was just straight supremacy. Like, you got to honor this goddamn there. I'll give you a good example of that before I go to the next caller. Now, my dad was born in Chicago, but my grandmother was born in Hattiesburg, Mississippi. And she's part of that. Both of my grandmothers, one was born in Memphis. They both are part of that, early 1900s crew that fled to the North to escape the oppression of the South. My dad told me, may he rest his soul now, that he knew how bad it was in the South once when my grandmother at the time, who was a grown woman, was on an elevator and a young white kid got on the elevator. She said the kid couldn't have been no more than 5 or 6 years old. My grandmother asked him, and at the time I would assume she had to be at least 40 or more, "What floor do you want me to push, sir?" She said that to a little kid because that's what was taught to them, is to honor white people no matter what they are. I mean, she said that to a little, "What floor do you want me to push, sir?" And it was sincere. So he was like, that really let me know how bad things must have been down south for her to be calling a little young kid, sir. Well, you get out of pocket, violence usually followed it. Looking in the comments, if you ignore history, you're doomed to repeat it. I saw somebody post that on one of the social media pages. They said, those who ignore history are doomed to repeat it. And those who, something like those who erase history intend to repeat it. I don't know. But anyway, let me go back to the box. Performers even had to take back roads. Yeah, I mean, it was just bad. It was just really bad. Continuing on, though, we'll go back to the box. Common sense guy. I want to hear some common sense. Good evening.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing good. What am I getting wrong here?
Man, you ain't getting nothing wrong. You know, it is what it is. I wish people would just call it what it is. You know, the guy's clearly trying to take us back. That whole Project 2025, that's a big part of it. You know, the part that, you know, the quiet part that every once in a while they slip and it comes out and they say it in public. The white supremacist part of that agenda. That's what a lot of people are ignoring. You know, they just say Project 2025 without the realization that that is a big component of that whole idea, you know?
But let me ask it to you this way, because MAGA, you know, my MAGA audience, they're adamant Trump is not racist. The liberals have him wrongfully labeled. Black people are just, you know, it's a bad case of Trump derangement syndrome. Why do you think MAGA sees this so differently than, say, African Americans?
Because it's a cult, and anything that sheds a negative light on their deity, let's call it what it is, they are in perpetual denial of, just like foreign countries pay tariffs, just like you know, the whole DEI shit, the whole Pizzagate, the whole anything that the whole release of the files, everything that makes this guy look bad. They fight it tooth and nail. I don't give a damn how much fact you hit them with, how much research you could do, how many sources you can provide them. It doesn't matter. They will not. Their loyalty is unwavering.
Why do you believe that? What do you think Trump has done to get this, what you refer to as unwavering loyalty? Is he really that good? A lot of folks suggest that Trump is the best president we've ever had.
Because it's evil. Dude, I mean, you know, you may not be religious, but he's the Antichrist. I mean, pretty much. I mean, and if not, he's modern day Jim Jones. I mean, it is what it is. What's so great about any dictator? What's so great about any of these negative figures throughout history that people were willing to throw it all away for?
You think you see Trump as evil? And I see in the comments, Hamster Time says evil people like evil people. You see Trump as actually evil?
The whole agenda is evil. Yes, him and every figure around him that are putting these mechanisms in place to give him total power, to silence the resistance, to do these atrocities. They're trying to invoke fucking martial law. He's already pondering the thought of trying to suspend elections to retain power, and people don't take it serious until it happens. The things that's going on 10 years ago, people probably would have said it never could happen, but it's happening.
I will say, as somebody who talks to MAGA all the time, you know, people get accused of fear-mongering and making up shit. I will say that based on Trump's first 7 months, he's done a lot that if a liberal or a Democrat had said, you know, if you elect Trump by August of next year, this will happen, they would have said it's fear-mongering, such as talk about the Confederate stuff. I mean, they would have denied that was going to happen. Or you talk about the gerrymandering, they would have denied. I mean, he's done already a lot of stuff that folks would have said if you predicted ahead of time, if you elect him, he's going to do this. He's going to have the National Guard in D.C. They would have said, there's no way in hell this guy's going to federalize a whole damn city. That's fear-mongering. So I think he's already done a lot of stuff that people would have accused you of fear-mongering. Huh?
It's active. It's terrorism. Just think about it. Okay, think about these ICE agents and the way they're going through here with their faces covered and this and that and other. What did it give way to? What do we see happening right now?
What do you mean?
The abuse of Latino women by imposters pretending to be this. You know, that came by them allowing the enforcement of this new immigration policy, quote unquote, that they've enacted. And the way ICE and all these federalized or deputized fucking people are going out here and just pretty much kidnapping people indiscriminately, sometimes grabbing legal citizens just because of the way they look.
I'm really surprised. You know, You mentioned the mask. I'm really surprised because I don't know why they took my last caller down. For some reason, my last caller got dropped by the app. I would say file an appeal. You didn't say anything of any significance. I mean, I know somebody reported it. Sometimes wild shit happens, but you're always welcome back on the program. So I didn't have anything to do with that. But I was about to make a point until they dropped him. I don't know what happened, but yeah, I'm really surprised. I think the point I was going to make, the Constitution loving conservatives. Now, MAGA's different from conservatives, or MAGA's different from Republicans as well. MAGA's kind of following in line with Trump, whereas Republicans and conservatives, you kind of know what their principles are. Because I'll tell you right off the bat, before Trump came along, the traditional conservative was not in favor of federalizing a city, sending troops to a city. The traditional conservatives were not in favor of that. The traditional conservatives were not in favor of letting law enforcement roam the country with no identifying marks on them. The traditional conservatives would not have been in favor of that. You mean you can be accosted by a cop that has no badge, no name tag, you can't even see his face? The traditional Republicans and conservatives would not have been in favor of that. I think what's happening, though, to change people's minds is, it's all right if you do it to them, just don't do that shit to me. That's where I think the difference is the fact that these folks are wearing masks, and as my last caller rightfully pointed out, by allowing that to happen, you're opening up the door to criminals. Because if people get softened up to submitting to folks in masks with no name tags, then if I want to go out and hit a lick, or as they say, commit a caper and rob somebody, then I'll just dress like one of them, and the person ain't gonna put up no resistance because they think they're fucking with a cop. And by the way, if you dress like that with no name tag, then you can't even be charged with impersonating the cop because they're not even dressed as a cop themselves. Just put on some kind of vest. It doesn't have to say police anything. You can buy a military style vest that just doesn't say ICE or doesn't say police. Put that shit on. It's got the holsters for your additional magazines and all of that looks military. And then put your own little, do-rag or whatever the mask they wear. And you look like one of them. And if you walk up on a hell of a lot of Hispanics, they're going to do what you ask for of them. Certainly the women, they're not going to fight you back. They think they're fighting back with law enforcement. So it does open up the door for all sorts of crimes to be committed by letting the police do that. Okay, we don't take the phone calls directly like that. If you want to speak, Porton Hill 4275, come on over to Instagram or TikTok. The Handsome Liberal will bring you right up. Come on over to one of those apps. People are going to be dressed like ICE for Halloween. Mark my word. Oh yeah, definitely going to be dressed like ICE for Halloween. Hell, you might in this environment you may see people dressed like the Klan. You got 3 days. I'm going to shut your podcast down because we're going to feed you to the white boys with good podcasts. And that's the guy who asked for my number, huh? You want me to give you my number so you can feed me to the white boys? Huh? All right, look at it in the comments. This is what we voted for. I believe that, Collins. I believe that. I think Trump is doing everything. Listen, if you're MAGA, I don't think there's anything Trump could do that you wouldn't say you voted for. I mean, Trump talked about and ran on America first. He stated, I'm a nationalist. We're going to get out of overseas conflicts, and we're going to focus on Americans first. And that's what you voted for. But he's been all involved in Russia, Ukraine. He's been helping out Netanyahu. And the response is still, that's what we voted for. It doesn't matter what Trump does today or tomorrow. The response is going to be, that's what we voted for. Because MAGA is going to follow Trump no matter what he does. I mean, he's twisting and turning all over the place. You voted because he was going to be transparent, unlike Biden, and release the Epstein list. Well, now he's in there and he's doing anything but that, and you're still, well, this is what we voted for. It doesn't matter what he does. You voted for it. If he changes tomorrow to something else, you voted for that too, because you didn't vote for the policies. You voted for the man, period. You voted for the man. Doesn't matter what he does. You voted for that. Look at it in the comments here. See you later, folks. Hope you go Hope you go MAGA in Trump soon, folks, because he's on God's side. I can y'all say the same thing about Democrats? Oh, can you say the same thing about Democrats? Are the Democrats on God's side? The answer is no. The Democrats are not on God's side, but Trump is. I'll leave that up to you folks. Now, keep in mind, Trump is on video saying I'm not a Christian. I don't know. He's on video saying he's never asked God for forgiveness. I don't know how all of a sudden him versus Biden, who goes to mass every Sunday, is not. Biden is not on God's side, but the guy who's telling you he's not a Christian and has never asked God for forgiveness, he's the one that's on God's side. I'm learning. Let me go back to the box. There we go. All right, moving on with the program. Mike, good evening or welcome to the show. It's why it's funny watching them. They know they chose to lose inside. I'm assuming he's talking about liberals. Mike, good evening.
Hey, what's going on, Tim? How you been?
I'm doing good. No discussion on slavery, more discussion on Confederates. What say you?
I say that the discussions at face value are all bullshit because he's a racist, he's a fascist. Anybody that says so far so good with his agenda, they are the racists and fascists we think they are. I don't even know why we're having a conversation with them. I don't even know why. Here's the problem that I have sometimes when I listen. I've been listening because I've been down all week. I've been sick all week. So I've been listening every day. First time I could actually speak. But this is the problem that I have. Sometimes you soft shoe with these motherfuckers a little too much. Because when they start saying get over our history, get over black history, most of them don't even know the history. Donald Trump saying, how bad white people don't even know their own history. They don't know. They'll tell us all day long if you told them, you guys murdered 8 people. Us. Y'all 8 people. Y'all was doing cannibalism.
Damn.
Y'all 8 people. Y'all raped children and men. And let your kids sit there and take pictures and postcards like it's a celebration of doing that to people. But then we got to get over it, and they have no conscience. And then they get on this app and make it seem like, oh, well, I guess you just got to get over it. At the end of the day, they don't have any trials and tribulations like indigenous and black and brown folks. They don't. So they take these things like it's not a big deal because they have no culture of their own other than cruelty and humanity and evilness. What is their positive fucking contributions to this country, Tim? By and large.
Well,
because the system was built for them. The capitalist system that we live in, they built it for them. Everything has been built for their benefit, and everything that they destroyed, they didn't like. When we tried to build our own communities, they burned it, flooded it, or tore it up every single time.
Yeah.
Every single time. And so when I hear those comments, it tells me either they don't care about those atrocities, and I know they don't because I can already tell you they don't care about their own goddamn children. They don't care.
What do you mean by that? What do you mean by that?
What state is trying to drop the marriage age to 14 right now?
I did hear about that. I don't know which state, but I did hear about that. The marriage age of 14.
Listen, white men have been touching little white girls and little white boys since the beginning of time. But they always want to tell us about what we got to do in our community. You motherfuckers are savages. Have always been savages. Laugh about the savagery. And then tell us you're tired of hearing it. That's why they don't want to tell the truth, Tim. You understand?
Yeah, I'm
because
listening.
what's happening at the Smithsonian is they want to get rid of it so they don't have to explain it, so they can water it down like they're doing in, I think, Texas or one of those states where they're watering that shit so down.
Florida.
You would think, oh, slavery wasn't that bad. Slavery wasn't that fucking bad.
Yeah, Florida under DeSantis is doing that.
Yeah, that's what they want to do, right? The Daughters of the Confederacy, that's what they want to do, to make themselves feel good about.
Yeah, but what does Trump want? Why would Trump get involved in that?
Because he is just like them. Listen, here's what I'm going to say. For white people in this country, that understand the history and move and understand that it happened and continue to move forward and denounce that shit. Those are the white folks to be applauded, because they stood, they saw what was going on. But even in their own families, they're not all on the same page. But the idea that this shit doesn't exist and they just want us to be quiet like it didn't happen, it's an insult.
Well, I don't think it's that they wanted us to be quiet like it didn't happen. I think they're getting to the point where they're claiming they're tired of hearing about it, which I don't know what that exactly means. But folks are saying that black people bring up the past or bring up slavery too much.
But
Mike, I think my caller may have. We'll give him a second to see if it fixes. Are
they
you there?
Always say that. They always say that. Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
They always say that about our plights, right? We can never teach the history of our plight, but they want to teach their soft marshmallow history. That's why when times get tough, they look for the first window on the 50th floor to jump the fuck out of.
Damn.
Because they've been handed most of the stuff. They've been handed most of their success. Again, 2% of the wealth in this country, 2% of white folks, like, even when you hear them say only 2% of white folks own slaves, well, they also owned all the wealth. They also got all the free labor. They also built their wealth without paying labor costs. Now, I don't know about you, Tim, because I've got a business. But if I didn't have to pay labor,
yeah.
If I didn't have to worry about medical, if I didn't have to worry about breaks and giving a shit about anybody, and by the way, I can always go in the back, grab one of the women graper if I want to, because we didn't amount to anything. The idea that what has happened to us in this country is just some get over shit, and white America couldn't deal with a year of oppression. I'm talking about direct white oppression. They couldn't deal with a year, and they want to tell us what we should have to get over after 400 years. And then take everything out of our
like for instance, I got folks in the
comments.
I got folks in the comments right now that are saying, "Look, I didn't own a slave. You know, why do I got to keep hearing about this? I didn't own one."
Because the system that you have lived in that has provided you certain privilege that you don't have to worry about. Like, white people don't think about an officer behind them. They don't have to talk with their kids. Yeah. They don't have that conversation, Tim. We've been over this before. All the things, because they don't know. They don't know our experience. Whoever said that, go watch, pick one. Mississippi Burning, Rosewood.
Oh yeah, you know, I've heard some people say that they're sick and tired of those movies that make the white man look bad. They don't even like the movies about that shit.
And the fun, exactly. But I'll challenge them then. Okay, well, find a movie where it shows white folks being oppressed by any other minority like that. Just find me one. Find me one where they were being oppressed. They couldn't go to work. I mean, listen, art imitates life. And there are so many unmarked graves in this country. And I told you about 2 weeks ago, there's still black men being strange fruited in this country today. But people don't talk about it. I told you to go look it up. I don't know if you did, because
I didn't look it up, but now I'm kind of curious. I mean, well, Elon Musk would say it happened in South Africa to the South Afrikaners, though. He said that they were being mistreated by blacks.
Of course they did, because that's all. Here's the thing. That's all they have to say to get their people to buy into that. They won't look for anything else. Just like the bullshit you did earlier about the truck driver. Yep, I wasn't with you on that shit.
So you believe that truck drivers should be able to drive without speaking English?
No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm not with you.
Okay.
Now, first of all, there's a lot of Russian truck drivers out there.
Yeah, there are. They're definitely Albanian. Albanian.
Yep, there's a ton of them. So why didn't that shit come up, Tim?
Because it ain't enough of them, I guess. I don't know. It is a lot of Russian, though. It is a lot of Russian.
Because they're not a target, Tim. They're not targeted right now. And when you allow that one anecdotal thing that happened, that did happen, to be the narrative, that's all they listen to. Yeah. That's all they listen to. They don't look at the stats and go, well, damn, I mean, really, white men are by far have the most fatal accidents in big trucks.
There's more of them.
Who would have thought? Well, maybe. I don't know. But my point is, they look for those things to put this narrative, and then they try to hammer it into your brain to make you feel less, so it's okay to demonize these
So
people
what?
so you don't care what happens to them.
So with America essentially bowing down and letting Trump have his way, what are we headed to? Because people can talk about how they ready and all this shit, but it's not happening. You see what's happening with the Hispanic community. He's just mowing over them. And the black community is even smaller than the Hispanic community. Where are we headed to as a nation?
Exactly where I thought we would end up heading. It's not gonna end well. It's not gonna end well, and I'm gonna tell you why. Because white America doesn't have enough balls. I'm just being honest. Even good white people that don't believe in the ideology may or may not be willing to stand up and say this shit is wrong. That's how this stuff happens, Bill.
I was told, but I'm being told we're about to be great again.
Yeah, well, listen, I know you got to say that for your audience, but I told you when I first met you, that was Make America White Again from the very beginning. That's exactly what he's doing, erecting statues, but taking black history out of a museum. Where else is history supposed to fucking be, Tim?
It's a good point. So,
I mean, here's the thing. Here's the thing. Let me ask you this. We have history in a lot of things. You got your credit history, you got your medical history, you got your financial history. What if I just went into your medical record and been like, you know what? Fuck it. Tim ain't got diabetes. We'll just take that shit out of there because who gives a fuck?
That would be a problem.
The idea that our history doesn't matter is absurd. And instead of going, God damn, that shit was bad, they want to go, oh, I always want to make it seem like it was bad. It was slavery. They were selling families. They were raping women at an alarming clip. They were castrating men. Come on. They were breaking up. Come on. Like I said, people don't, cannibalism, fact.
I didn't know. What you telling me that white people were eating blacks back then?
Yes. Look it up.
I know our history omitted a few things, but why the hell were they eating black people? Do we taste good?
You there?
Yeah, I'm listening.
You there? All right. Yeah, no. Yeah, of course. Look that shit up.
The delectable Negro. Oh my God. I'm afraid to even look into that.
What do you think they did to Nat Turner? What do you think they did to Nat Turner?
I didn't know he got eaten.
Yeah. Yes, Scooty just said it in the comments, using our teeth for their dentures. They would club us like baby seals. When slaves got sick and they didn't feel like they can work anymore, they just club them.
Okay.
Put one just unalive.
I know about the killings of useless slaves, so to speak, but eating them is something different. I didn't hear about that.
Yep. And see, but it's people like this dude, Bobby, saying nice, right? And this is the kind of person that I'm talking about. They are out there. I don't know why they're acting like these racist, soft, mediocre motherfuckers ain't worth shit. And they're out there. But we got to stop acting like they're not out there. We don't need any more evidence. We don't need anything else to happen. Everyone in Trump's orbit is connected to white supremacy. All you got to do is look. Stephen Miller, Peter Thiel, Steve Bannon. Look at everyone around him, and they've got some. They even have their damn White House speechwriter has been connected to some white supremacist literature.
Now, see in the comments, somebody said, "I don't know about this eating human stuff on a large scale." I see Nat. I see Nat Turner. His flesh was turned into medicine grease.
Listen, again, the idea that somebody can enslave somebody and be nice about it is fucking absurd. You understand what I'm telling you?
Yeah.
When we find these kids being in the basement and kept for 10, 20 years, were their conditions nice?
No, it's never nice. It's never nice.
It's never nice.
Yeah.
It's never nice. And then you want to say, oh, well, it's been forever. But see, what happens is once the physical slavery ended, like you said earlier, Jim Crow, you go to Tulsa. One white woman says something happened to her and they burned the whole city down.
That's why I've always said, for folks who suggest that the Civil War had nothing to do with slavery and things like that, my response is always the same. It doesn't matter. When you look at how they continue dealing with black people after losing the Civil War, it's pretty clear they didn't have their best interests at heart. So it doesn't matter what the Civil War was about. It's pretty clear that the folks in the South really did not like black people. I mean, they really did not like them. So I often bring this up when we're talking about, pride and heritage. I mean, these people really did not like black folks. I don't think there's any way to deny that.
America doesn't like black folks. Whiteness doesn't like black folks. Matter of fact, somebody in the comments thinks that you know that they rejected Dan Trail's art to go into the Smithsonian, right?
They rejected what?
Dan Trail's?
No.
Yeah, one of his paintings was supposed to go into the Smithsonian earlier this year.
Wow.
And they sent that shit back to him. Ask him about it when you go on this live. Yep.
Wow.
They sent that shit right back to him. So my point is this, and I'm going to drop it. At the end of the day, every time we make an excuse or we even sort of soft shoe when it talks about our history and race to make them feel comfortable, that's our fucking fault. That's our fault. Why should they be comfortable with us explaining the brutality that happened to our people? We don't say that when we're talking about children or what happened to children. We don't soft shoe people when we talk about cancer. We don't soft shoe anything about.
We don't soft shoe anything whether we're talking about the invasion of Pearl Harbor, where we're talking about 9/11. I do not know why, when it comes to black history, people want that particular era of history to be shut down. We cover all of our other history, including the Confederates. But I don't know why, when it comes to black history, that people do want you to shut the hell up. I don't know why.
Yes, you do. I'll say it, though. Yes, you do. I know you got an audience. Yes, you do. Because they hate black people. As simple as that. Listen, why would you spend so much time? Here's the one thing. This is why it's hate. Why would you spend so much time on something that you say you don't care about to continue to oppress it? They say, go back over there or go over there. Every time we said, okay, we're going to go over here and do our thing, they bring their asses, come right on over and tear the shit down. That's hate. That's hate. That's hate. And at the end of the day, when people come up on your panel and they start talking around it, and we don't stop right there. Because that would be like somebody coming up on here talking to you about their indigenous ancestry, and you go, fuck all that. I ain't trying to hear all that. I'm tired of hearing about all that. Right?
Okay.
White people don't even know what their history in this country is because they don't know these lessons. They don't understand some of the evils of their ancestors. And a lot of times they get told that, that's not true. That's gaslighting. They're bullshit. It's fake news. And it's easier to believe it's fake news than to believe the realities that your ancestors, 2 or 3 generations removed. We're not talking about 2 or 3 generations removed. You understand what I'm telling you? Like, I can have conversations with my grandmother who was 103 and about these conversations. So they don't want to, because they're that close to it and they benefit from it. And all we're saying is stop telling us how we need to move on just because you have decided that we don't matter. So when we say fuck you and you call us the angry black man or black woman, I'm just asking you, would you be angry if society said, fuck what you've been through, fuck what you're going through? We don't care.
It would be called erasing history. Mike, you know what I got to do, but that's what it would be called. It would be called erasing history.
Yep.
Appreciate it.
All right, man, I got to run. I got to get in here. All right, later.
All right, thanks. Good talk. Real quick, moving on with the program. By the way, tap the screen. Wow, you guys have been, man, there's been some pretty good folks in here tonight for the tapping. I haven't gotten any MAGA callers. This has been an unfortunate night for that, but it's a strong subject. It's a strong subject. I would prefer to speak to a few MAGA, but my guess is, and I'm speculating here, but it's probably one that's hard to defend because of the anti-slavery Smithsonian comments that, with him going favorable to the Confederacy while also talking negatively about discussing slavery. So I think it's kind of I think the problem is it's kind of challenging to defend. So I did want to hear from MAGA, but unfortunately that's not going to happen, apparently, looks like. Caller, a total racist, falling for propaganda. I don't know, falling for propaganda makes you a racist. You'd have to explain a little bit more than that. They put lots of fear into old ladies and old men, little kids. Shit, I'll call in, go MAGA. Well, if you were on TikTok or Instagram, I'd bring you up and you could actually be that person. And we would, like I said, we're looking forward to speaking to MAGA when we can get them, but they're just not as, as easy to get. They talk about 9/11, Holocaust, American Revolution, etc., but bring up Black history is frowned upon. And I don't know why. I don't know why that is. And like I said, with President Trump speaking favorably for the Confederacy, he's drawn a clear red line about how he feels versus slavery. He's got to make it would be different if he just simply said, his comments on slavery, which people still would have a problem with that. People would still have a problem with his view on the Smithsonian and slavery. But then when he starts speaking favorably of the Confederates, he really makes it clear at that point. He really makes it clear to the point where I do believe that you're going to start, particularly Black MAGA, this is hard to defend. It is hard to defend. Tim, most people believe slavery was horrible. That's why they are not debating you. Well, maybe that's the case. Maybe that's the case. But then again, like I said, why is he speaking so favorably of the Confederates and, as he say, preserving history? But then when it comes to slavery, well, that part of history we need to stop preserving. It's so clear how he is on one side and the other side. It's hard to defend. It is hard to defend. Jim Crow and slavery is in American history. Without it, you know nothing of American history. In my opinion, just like in regards to the Third Reich, after Germany lost the war, they outlawed that. In fact, if you're flying, German memorabilia from that era, from Adolf era, it's a crime in Germany. In fact, there's a guy, there's a clip I was watching on YouTube the other day because I was talking to one of my friends in Australia because they've been asking me why the hell is America going so crazy electing Trump? And apparently the mindset of people we're dealing with here, the anti-immigrant mindset, a lot of folks who are starting to speak hatred, is happening in Australia too. And there was a guy over there the other day that threw up the Roman salute, the Elon Musk Roman salute. He got arrested. It's illegal to do that in Australia. I did not know that. But the point I was going to make is very similar to Germany, how they treated the Third Reich and honoring them after the World War II. America probably should have done that with the Confederates. I know I'm not going to make any friends on the right by saying this, but there is a problem when virtually all of the white hate groups are using your symbol. So we can talk about it being about pride and heritage and how the liberals are getting it wrong or how Black folks are mislabeling it. But for some strange reason, the hate groups that happen to be white all seem to be thinking this is about hate as well. For some reason, they keep using that symbol. And they've been using it for well over 100 years. I mean, you can go back pretty far in history. Like, you go to, let's say, the Civil Rights Museum in Memphis down there with honoring Martin Luther King's assassination. They got very old photos down there of people preaching hate, and they got the Confederate flag on them. It's on their uniforms. Back in the 40s and 50s, it's on the side of the cars. For some reason, we can talk about it being about pride and heritage, but the hate groups in America, for a very long period of time, seem to see it as a symbol of hate. And oddly enough, if you talk about taking down a Confederate statue, if you talk about renaming a military base away from the Confederates know how to show up in protest. You see what happened in Charlottesville when they were trying to take down the Confederate statue. Good people on both sides. They came to protest. When you take down Confederate symbols and statues, they come to protest. But if you walk down the street with that symbol on your uniform or waving a flag around and preaching nothing but hate, there's no protest at all. We know folks who support the Confederate flag know how to protest. But yet if you use the symbol in conjunction with preaching hate, no protest at all. That has to be explained. If it's not a symbol of hate, why don't they allow it to be used as a symbol of hate? No explanation for that at all. I would just say that nobody has the right to take those monuments down. That's fine. But if you believe that flag represents your heritage, represents, pride and heritage, why would you not say any damn thing when people are using it to preach hate? Have you ever seen folks sitting on town square or walking down the street yelling hate while wearing that symbol, and you had other Confederates on the other side saying, "Don't desecrate my family's history"? Have you ever seen that happen at all? Have you ever seen them protests, people using the Confederate flag as a symbol of hate? Because there's no denying you've seen it being used in conjunction with hate. Everybody from Dylan Ruth on up has used it as a symbol of hate. You've seen that. There's no denying. It's pretty easy if you type in any of that stuff on Google and you get pictures, there's a good chance the Confederate flag is going to be in that picture. Why do they keep using it as a symbol of hate? Real quick in the comments here. I don't know. Oh, I missed a lot of stuff on this side. Because to done if us, it has nothing to do with hate. That's so we don't repeat the past. I guess I get what you're trying to say. The writing of that is pretty bad. Because to done if us, it has nothing to do with hate. It's so we don't repeat the past. So based on what I'm reading there, you're suggesting that, well, because hate has nothing to do with us, we just let them fly the flag and preach hate because we know we're not hateful. We just ignore it. Is that what you're saying? If you burn the American flag while preaching hate, people show up and fight and protest. Got nothing to do with it. I ain't got nothing to do with it. You're desecrating the damn flag. That makes no sense at all, by the way. Whoever the guy is, Chris Miller, that makes no sense at all. I'm just going to let you preach hate with my family's heritage symbol, whatever you want to call it, pride. And because I'm not hateful, I'm just going to let you wave it around and preach hate all you want with it. That makes no sense at all. I do see Rudy. Rudy, if it'll bring you up before I continue on, let's see if it'll do that. After the war, Lee said there should never put up statues because we are all American and we should heal. Yeah, to me it should have been outlawed, very similar to how the Germans did it. Because ever since that war, it's been nothing but a symbol of controversy, or even, better yet, to be accurate, it's been a symbol of hate. Okay, I don't know what's the name of the guy I just brought up. I just called your name out. Are you there?
Hi, hello, yeah.
Yeah. Now you're MAGA, correct? Now he's on Instagram. You're MAGA, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. That now I'm asking, what name is? Because your name's not popping up on here. What name?
Oh, my name's Damien.
Damien?
Yeah.
Okay, Damien, great. Okay, so why do you believe that the Confederates, who often talk about it being a symbol of pride and heritage, don't seem to mind at all when people are using it as a symbol of hate?
I don't really affiliate with those guys. I don't think any real Republican would like to affiliate with those guys, considering they were on the opposite side during the war in 1860.
So do you see folks waving the Confederate flag as a symbol of hate? Do you see it as a symbol of hate?
I'm glad they wave it, that way we know where they are and we know where to find them, and I'd rather my Nazis be in uniform than be waving a pride flag pretending to be good.
Now, you voted for Trump. You are MAGA, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Okay, you're MAGA, but you believe that you're comparing people that wave the Confederate flag to Nazis.
Oh, most definitely they are.
Wow. Okay. So Trump putting up a Confederate statue in D.C., what does that say to you?
Well, I think a lot of the historical generals at that time had a lot of influence over the people there and owned a lot of land. And I'm not sure, I haven't heard much about it, but if he did put up a brand new statue instead of maybe fixing it, then could have perhaps been something to do with a historical landmark, possibly.
And renaming the military bases back to Confederates, you agree with that as well?
Oh, actually, that was debunked. If you actually go to the websites of those places, the full name is actually a name of a soldier with a similar name who was decorated for valor in a battle.
But that's not actually debunked. If you're deliberately changing the name back to another, because keep in mind when Biden changed the names, they passed a law that says you could not change the name back to that same Confederate person. So what they did is they found some other soldier that had the same last name. So it isn't debunked. They picked somebody else because they legally couldn't use the same name. So they tried to do the next best thing. Okay, I can't name it after General Lee, so I found this other dude that happens to have the same name ended in Lee, so we'll name it after him. Everybody knows what's going on, though. I mean, you're naming it after people who don't even have enough merit to get a base named after them because you just want the guy's last name. You don't really care about what he's accomplished.
Maybe, but he is a real guy, and I think it's important to make sure that everybody knows that those are real people, and they may not be significant people in the eyes of the media, but they are real people just like you and me and everybody else maybe in the comments, and maybe they have the name of a bad guy.
So what does DEI mean to you? Because you're naming a whole military base after someone who does not have the merit to warrant that. What does DEI mean to you?
I'm not sure.
You don't know what DEI means?
No.
Do you know what didn't earn it means? How do you name a whole military base after some low-ranking service person, considering how many generals and how many folks have done a hell of a lot more for the country, but this guy, just because of his name, gets a military base? What's different? What's any different between doing that and giving somebody a job just because they're gay or just because they're black? You're giving it to him just because of his name.
Right. But some of them are actual decorated soldiers.
But you get what I'm saying. They don't have the decoration to get a whole damn base. These are people that throughout history have been completely forgotten about because their accomplishments are so low compared to others. How do they get a military base named after them?
I know, it's crazy how someone so possibly insignificant could get something named after them.
Well, because you're not naming it after them. You're trying your next best way of naming it after the person you really want to name it after. Let's be clear, the person would not get that base if they didn't have the name. It has nothing to do with what they accomplished. It's solely based on their last name.
Perhaps, yeah. But also, a lot of those guys who they used to be named after, when they were specifically named after those Confederate generals, those generals fought in a lot of wars that helped the United States win before they turncoated with the Confederate Democrats.
And do you favor his point that the Smithsonian should not focus on slavery?
I think slavery is a pretty small portion in terms of what happened. We already know what happened. Not that it isn't a significant thing that people should know about how brutal and how inhuman it was towards those people, and how they had to live through 80 years of injustice just because 80? The Republicans wanted to satisfy the Democrats of the South.
80? Slavery went on a lot longer than 80 years.
Well, 1940, a lot of things kind of opened up, and 50s and 60s were just the epoch of.
So do you agree with Trump though? And also, he doesn't favor the Juneteenth holiday. Do you believe the Juneteenth holiday honoring the end of slavery should go away as well?
Well, it's not really. I feel like there's not really much to celebrate besides ending of slavery. Like, oh, today we're ending slavery. It's the day we ended slavery. Instead of it just being taught in schools specifically like it is.
You think you believe getting freedom is not much to celebrate. Going from being in bondage your whole life from birth till death and now living in an era where you're free from birth on, you're saying that's not much to celebrate?
Well, maybe, actually from my experience, every state kind of celebrates holidays differently. In the capital, they celebrate everything. Yeah, kids get
We're talking about the end of slavery, though. So you believe that America should not collectively, because that order came from the federal government. It didn't come from each individual state. That is a federal order that freed slavery. You're saying that federally, America should not celebrate the end of slavery.
Well, I think he made a decision, and I don't think it's one of his. I don't understand why he would even make a statement like that. But when it comes down to it, a lot of these states don't really see a need to dedicate that as a holiday. Whether perhaps they're using it for tax cuts, for tax reasons, when people get time and a half and boosting their tax revenue from that time and a half. Now that he's cut it, there's not really any point.
Why are we looking at? Wait a minute. Why are we looking at a huge milestone in American history from a standpoint of a tax cut? I don't see what that has to do with it. I mean, it's a huge milestone where millions of people gain their freedom. And I don't understand where a tax cut comes into it.
Well, the tax code and the tax law is written quite clearly, and holidays are written in the form of tax codes because they get tax cuts from certain holidays and the type of pay that people in the system get. But that's a broad spectrum, and in terms of cultural aspects, it's an important day to remember for sure.
So when Trump is talking about
Jefferson Douglas, or his name,
right? So when Trump is speaking favorably of Confederate history and the exact opposite of slavery in history pertaining to black people, how do you think blacks should view that?
I think they should just see it as it's just another day. It's another day, and.
So you're saying every day he does not want people to talk about black history is just another day? He's like this every day?
I don't think he does. If he does, then maybe we got a problem. But until that problem arises, we won't know anything until the end of his term. And I think that's the biggest issue is that, we're fighting over this big thing when his term isn't done.
Well, we wouldn't be fighting over it if he had not made it an issue. Why would he make this an issue? Why would he go out and speak the way he did on Juneteenth? And then, of course, he's talking about not focusing on slavery. And then he's promoting the Confederate flag. It doesn't have to be an issue unless he does it, right?
Yeah, it's weird. I've never heard of him promoting the Confederate flag. Every single video I've seen of him talking is always denouncing Confederate flags and upping the American flag. He doesn't have an American flag on his post or anything. I mean, Confederate flag. It's always an American flag, the United States flag. And I'm not sure, because a lot of the media sometimes takes what he says out of context when there's a broader message that he puts out in.
Yeah, I get what you're saying, but the way he spoke on Juneteenth about he did not even address the holiday at all. The way he spoke on that about getting rid of that holiday, you think that was taken out of context?
Maybe not.
So how are blacks supposed to view him only a couple years after getting a holiday to commemorate the end of slavery? Here comes Trump talking about getting rid of it. How do you think blacks should just view that as, well, just another day?
Well, a lot of states don't even celebrate.
That ain't what I'm asking you, though. We're not talking about the states. We're talking about the president of the United States.
Right, yeah. It's a holiday that isn't even celebrated in California. And that's something
hold on, sir. You're deflecting to other stuff that we're not talking about at the state level. We're talking about the guy in the Oval Office is going against what was just given to African Americans. Now, we can talk later about which state does what, but we're talking about the guy in the Oval Office. How do folks supposed to view him only a few years after getting this holiday, him coming along and talking about getting rid of it?
You're right. That's an important milestone for Black Americans because, the type of hardship that was put, and especially under Jim Crow, which was a systematic, just fascist ideology that they put on poor Black Americans. And I don't understand why he would even make that decision, especially if the community was so enlightened by this new holiday that they implemented into our country.
So then I'm asking you, how is the Black community supposed to view him Now that he's talking about getting rid of a holiday that they just finally got only a few years earlier.
You're right. How should they look at him? I doubt they would look at him or want to look at him as a good guy.
As a what?
He kind of looks like a racist in terms of that.
Took a while to get there. It took a while to get there. Yeah, I gotta agree with you, sir. I gotta agree with you. For some reason, he's deciding to attack one of the very few. Obviously, Martin Luther King Day is a holiday that is celebrated by blacks and many others. But the holiday commemorating the end of slavery, he pops up and says we need to get rid of that. Yeah, I think you finally hit it on the head. It does look like a tad bit of racism in there.
Yeah. I also think, though, that a lot of the Democratic ideology focuses too much on Malcolm X. That guy, he was a felon as well, yet we revere him.
We just elected a felon.
Exactly, and people still revere Malcolm X as the great savior. It's a two-sided argument, whereas in my personal opinion, Martin Luther King, he was the guy.
Right. He was the good guy. He was the good guy, and we responded to him by protesting peacefully. We responded to him by shooting him in the face. I don't know if being good helped him out much, do you think?
Yeah, well, I don't think Malcolm X helped him at all doing his thing at the same time. And
but if the outcome is death, it doesn't matter how you do it. They don't like it. They didn't like either one of them.
I know, it's sad.
Yeah.
I know. Martin Luther King, man, that guy was the legend, the man. He was awesome. Everything about him.
All right, we'll leave it at that. But in conclusion, so you do see also him talking about getting rid of Juneteenth while promoting Confederate history as racist in some fashion or form, at least to the eyes of black people. I appreciate you coming on, Damien. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Anytime. All right. Moving on with the program. Go ahead and drop it, Damien. Moving on with the program here. Don't know what I'm hitting. Damien, go ahead and drop out. So otherwise, I have to take down that. Maybe you don't know how to drop it out. Give me a second, folks, while we figure this out. Okay, looking in the comments, how can you respect MLK but vote for Trump? It's a great question. Well, I think that, trying to see both sides of an issue, I think that a lot of folks, listen, Trump 1.0 was different, is significantly different than Trump 2.0. Remember, he gave money to HBCUs. He had Ben Carson on his administration. There was a few things. I know how the African-American community felt about Trump in his first term. They were calling him a racist. I get it. But Trump 1.0, there were a few areas where you could say there was plausible deniability. A lot of that stuff is closed off in Trump 2.0. Now you got Elon Musk, where you got to explain that what he's doing is not a Roman salute. Now we're talking about getting rid of, history regarding African Americans in slavery and being favorable to Confederate. He's doing a lot more this go round. And if you notice, when it comes to defending Trump, most of the defenses for why Trump is not racist and likes black people, all of the stuff being stated comes from his first term. Or even before, rappers used to like him. He hung around Oprah Winfrey. But in his second term, nothing is being used. There's just simply nothing there in his second term. So you'll notice when anyone defending Trump, they're bringing up some things from his first term, or they're bringing up stuff from his life before becoming a politician. Try asking them what you've seen out of the second term, and they're not really bringing up much of anything at all. Old sleepy Grandpa Trump is older than Bill Clinton. Yeah, Trump is the oldest president we've ever had at this point. When you look at the age of President Biden when he was inaugurated in January of 2021, Trump is older than that. When Trump got inaugurated in January of this year, he was actually older than Biden was. So he is the oldest president to ever be inaugurated. Monkey Man, you love PDFs. Go look. Good look, rather. Okay. Chicago Black Mirror. black police chief, black DA, black doctors, etc. It's terrible. It's actually not. It's actually not. Being somebody who was born and raised in Chicago, it's actually not. Listen, I'm not going to pretend like Chicago doesn't have a significant amount of crime, but I will tell you this. Chicago's nowhere near as bad as the media portrays it. People go to Chicago for tourism all the damn time. They're not going there to get shot. You don't hear a bunch of stories about, people visiting Chicago and coming back in a body bag. It's not. There are areas of that city that are very dangerous, the south and west sides. But the areas you would go for tourism, the areas with all the business, predominantly downtown, you fly into the airports. Chicago is not as bad as they portray it. In fact, murder-wise, Memphis, St. Louis, Baton Rouge, a lot of cities in red states are worse. But Chicago has a lot of liberalism to it, so it makes for a better target. It's a liberal city. It's in a liberal state. It has ties to Obama. It has a history of tough gun laws. It just makes for a better area to attack. All Chicago got to do to stop getting attacked by the right is either elect a Republican governor for that state or a Republican mayor for that city, and they will stop talking about it. It has nothing to do with crime. It has nothing to do with actually being concerned for that city. It's all about politics. That's why you're hearing about Chicago and LA and New York, but you're not hearing anything about the cities I just named because they're in red states. That's all it is. Just elect their side of the aisle, and they'll suddenly leave you alone. It's politics. It's an agenda. Just like Trump is sending in the National Guard to D.C. If D.C. elects a Republican mayor, that shit goes away tomorrow. It's as simple as that. It has nothing to do with the crime of your city. It has more to do with the politics in your city or your state. That's it. Real quick in the comments, all cities are blue, even in the South. Yeah, but if the governor is red, they're not going to mess with him. That's it. If the governor's red, they're not going to mess with those cities. And by the way, any major city is going to be blue because the red diversity avoids the Republican Party like the plague. So any environment that's very diverse is going to be blue. The Republican Party, for some reason, doesn't do well with diversity. They just don't. I mean, we can talk about why, but they don't do well with diversity. So the top 50 largest cities in this country are probably going to most of the time always be overwhelmingly Democrat. Right now, I think out of the top 50 largest cities, we did a video on this maybe about a year ago. I think out of the top 50 largest cities in America, only 9 of them are Republican. And you got to go way down the list to the point where they start getting small before you find Republican cities. I think the biggest city in America at the time when I did the video that was Republican was Oklahoma City. And there's a whole lot of cities in America that are bigger than Oklahoma City. So Oklahoma City was the first city you came across that it was a Republican mayor. All the stuff above that is Democrat. So, and we can talk about, the notion that Democrat cities are high crime and they're not ran well. Well, that says a lot that even if the city has a lot of crime and you believe it's not run well, they still keep voting Democrats here. That shows that the Republican Party just does not look interesting at all. Even if the city is poorly ran, they would rather deal with that than voting a Republican. So that's a huge reflection on the Republican Party that should be noted. Well, Chicago has more murders than Benghazi. I don't know, what is the population of Benghazi compared to the metro Chicago area has like 8 million people in it. I don't know. I mean, listen, Chicago, New York, and LA is where all the people are. Yeah, you're going to have more deaths. But per 100,000 per capita, Chicago's not even in the top 10 in terms of murder capitals in America. I just gave you a bunch of them. St. Louis, Baton Rouge, Louisiana, New Orleans, Louisiana, Little Rock, Arkansas, Memphis. Them cities are more violent, but they all have red governors, so you don't hear about them as much. Benghazi, comparing Chicago to Benghazi, I don't know where to go with that. Midterm economy will be bad on a huge scale. Midterm, we make liberals cry even more. Okay. Tim, can we talk about this administration attempt to downplay slavery and its role in racism and contribution? What do you think we've been talking about for the last 3 hours? Anyway, I do appreciate the 200 and wow, this guy, you guys really, wow. I don't think I've ever seen it that high. We came close to 300,000 with this audience? Really? Was it the topic? I didn't get any MAGA, and that's what I wanted, but I've never seen you guys, the likes being that fucking high. I appreciate you guys doing that. I'm sure I'll hear from TikTok after the show. All blue mayors, Memphis, Baton Rouge, and Jackson, Mississippi, to name a few. Well, I just explained that to you why. Diverse cities do not like the Republican Party. Republican policies are not good for diversity. So it doesn't matter what the crime level is. If you put a whole audience together of people and it is very diverse, they're not going to vote for the Republican Party. So all big cities are always going to probably be leaning blue. I mean, you're going to have a lot of shit in a big city. You're going to have Muslims. You're going to have, obviously, blacks and whites and Hispanics and Asian. You're going to have LGBTQ. The Republican Party has said things to piss off a lot of those groups. Period. They've said things that are really anti many of those groups. So diversity, even when you go to Republican gatherings, and I've been to a couple of Trump rallies, I say it all the time. When you go to Republican gatherings, they're not very diverse. When you go to Democrat rallies, they're extremely diverse. They're extremely diverse. So it should surprise no one why big cities tend to be Democrat. You can talk about the crime, but I don't think if the city gets to be low crime, they're going to suddenly vote Republican. It's the diversity that's the problem. Because they don't like transing kids. You know, I still don't ever get that. And I've said this many times on the show, and I'm sure many of you heard me say this before. But if you believe that your children are not safe around the transgender community, but you're sending them to church every weekend, you got it backwards. You just do. If you had to produce any sort of links or research on how many children have been harmed by the transgender community, and then you were asked to do the same about Christian churches, I mean, you got to be talking tens of thousands to one. I mean, it's not even, to be against the LGBTQ community and pro-Christian with doing right by kids as the agenda just makes no sense at all. It just makes no sense at all. I mean, you're talking about one group that has a history dating back centuries of abusing children versus the transgender community. Somehow, some way, this incredibly lopsided, misguided calculation, we're being told it's not about hate. Some way, somehow, you're supposed to believe that's not about hate. There is just no history of any significance that the LGBTQ community, even when you divide those fucking letters up, each one of those, none of those communities have a significant history of abusing children that is even comparable to one type of Christian church, whether it's Presbyterian, whether it's Mormon, whether it's Catholic, whether it's Lutheran, whether it's Baptist. Each one of those segments of religion has a huge history of abusing kids. Each one of them. They're all Christian, but each one of them have a huge history of abusing children. So if you're sending your kids to church every weekend and avoiding the LGBTQ community, you're not doing what's in the best interest of your fucking kids. Because one group is about happiness. The other group has a history of abuse, and they're about control. Anyway, I do appreciate the 200 plus. Wow. Like I said, I'm still just astonished by that. Thank you for that. As always, if you enjoy this type of dialogue from all sides of the aisle, you don't have to agree with anybody on this program, including yours truly. Feel free to follow the program if you're watching on TikTok or Instagram. If you're watching on YouTube, give your boy a sub. We're here generally Monday through Friday. So if this is what you like, we'll welcome you on the program any day, anytime. Understand, we always remain MAGA friendly. The comments, the topics, they're not going to always paint Trump in a good light. Being MAGA friendly does not always mean painting him in a good light. But if he deserves to be painted in a good light, you'll often see me doing that. And you'll see folks criticizing that the same way a lot of MAGA criticizes when he is being painted in a bad light. But that's what freedom of speech and zero censorship is about. We don't have an echo chamber. A lot of you folks may favor that, I understand. Maybe you want to be in an area where, on a program or a page where everybody's bashing Trump and calling him all kinds of names, or you want to be somewhere where everybody's wearing a red hat and bashing liberals. That's just not what you get here. You're going to hear comments about everybody here because it's all about free speech. So I do appreciate you tuning in as always. You guys stay safe, and I will catch you guys on tomorrow night's program. Take care. It's your boy Tim, the handsome liberal. I'm out.